There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
How the heck are you?
Yep, that's it. Miller.
Really upset that my daughter will not read one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish on Twitch because I needed content. That's what we've come to.
And Moulton.
Well, we need to explain to her the pilot program, and we need 25 hours of programming a week. So you need to deliver your 12 minutes a day, 5 times a week, because that's an hour, honey.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Yes! Oh, I like it.
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton on this Thursday, the 18th of June. We've got live golf beginning in a couple hours, something you can bet on. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com, broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. You can chime into the show via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line, although nobody calls us anymore. 479-5551, 479-5551. Mark, I know this would have been one of your favorite days of the year. This should have been and has always been U.S. Open Thursday. But, hey, look at it this way. We wouldn't be doing a show together if it was U.S. Open Thursday.
Boy, a man can dream, can he?
Touche, my friend. Well played. Well played. How are you this fine morning?
I'm good. You know, I have not had the problems that you and others have had of missing sports. You've had moments when you've just been in a bad spot, not to mention you had a kidney removed.
Well, and I do think the two forces collided a couple weekends ago.
Yes,
There's no doubt.
But I think even before that, there was a couple of times in which you were like, you know, opening day of baseball, just some certain dates in which you came to the show with like,
yeah. Come on,
you know, enough already.
Yeah.
And
come on.
And this week will be tough.
Sunday will be tough. Father's Day. I mean, you know, so many dads go to just tell their family, leave me the heck alone. I'm going to sit in this chair for 3 to 5 hours.
That's my wife asked me. I said, I don't know. I don't want you around for a lot of the day. I know that. You know, my mom's been here my mom stopped up because her place is having some things redone. It's just in shambles. So she came up for a couple of days. And
shambles, really?
Oh, yeah.
On Marco Island, I have a hard time believing that there's a single place that's in shambles.
It's called a redesign. I mean, there are walls getting knocked down, things getting moved. The place is in shambles. It's virtually unlivable because it is being redone.
Okay.
So I thought she was just coming up for the day, and it's been 3. And then she says, well, I was going to come back on Sunday. And I'm looking around going, listening to these 3 women talk all day yesterday going, yeah, why don't you come back on Sunday? Because that would make Father's Day even more fun.
You keeping this to yourself? Or
Yeah.
are we saying it out loud?
No, everybody's in bed. We're good.
Right.
It's just between us and here.
Right. Fosse, keep it all on the inside. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Right. Okay.
It's an eclectic number, David.
Yes. Birdcage. Okay. Yes. Listen, I think we all need to channel our inner birdcage from time to time. If for nothing else, all right, just think it. Keep it all on
Keep it all on the inside. Before you post on Twitter, Facebook, or wherever, just keep it all on the inside. Yes, type it. In fact, I encourage you to type it. Then erase it before you send it.
Yes.
It's therapeutic.
Oftentimes, it's actually something that they say in therapy. Write a letter, then don't send it. Okay, but you get it out. Or if you're, hell bent on sending the letter, you may do multiple drafts, write it and then, more modified version and all that. So you're finally ready to send the letter.
That's a great question for you, David, because of the two of us, you are a far better writer. You were an accomplished writer for both newspapers at different times down here. And people really enjoyed your columns. I'm not even being a smartass. People really liked reading your columns. There's even this slight chance you may come back and do it. So I want to ask you, have you ever written the FU letter and not sent the first draft?
Well, a personal letter? No.
I mean, just what we're talking about. When you're airing you're airing your grievance. When you have your own personal Festivus, David, and you're airing your grievances, whether it was against a boss, a friend, a coworker, whomever, did you ever get to first off, did you ever send the letter? 2, did you ever get past draft 1?
No. Never.
Never sent it or never got past draft 1?
Never got past draft 1. You asked me, A, did I write the letter? The answer is yes.
Did you send it?
Of course. Of course I sent it.
How many?
I've done it a couple, 2-3 times. All right. Throughout my mediocre career. I will say the funniest thing of all the columns that I did, and, I did like 1,500, 12 to 1,500 columns locally between the two papers. And of all the columns that I sent in, the FGCU women played an NCAA tournament game. I think it was 3 years ago in Miami, and they got absolutely hosed in the final 10 seconds. Twice. On both ends of the floor, got completely zebraed. Tie game, 10 seconds to go. They get hosed. They end up losing by 2. And I write a column, and I send it. And I get in the car, and I'm driving back from Coral Gables, and I get an email from Greg Hardwick, who just simply says, yeah, I can't put this in the paper. And I'm like, do I need to change a word or what have you? He goes, no, you got to change the column.
So good for you.
I pulled over on the alley. Okay. And I'm, got my 2 thumbs on my phone and I'm trying to rewrite this thing. And I will say, all right, when I reread it, I'm like, wow. Now, this was harsh.
Right, now that's business. Have you ever done it personal?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yes, absolutely. I got fired once because of it. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes, the second ever station I worked for, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Oh, I sent a Jane, you ignorant slut letter. Absolutely. Right, went right over the news director, the general manager.
It's always great. It was my favorite thing at our last stop. When David and I worked did afternoons at the other place, is that it seemed, and it was a tough work. I was telling someone yesterday, someone was asking about that place. I said, it's a tough work environment. It was very difficult. They like to pit people against people. They liked conflict. And because of that, would you say once every 2 or 3 years, one of those letters would go on the email company-wide? I mean, that's when you vault over. It's one thing to do what you did, to leap the news director and go to the general manager. It's never going to work. You're going to get fired just the same. But inside that building, other than you and the GM, no one had a real perfect idea of what that letter stated unless that person or you showed it around to others. In a perfect world, that's between 2 people.
Correct.
Now, any GM worth his salt is going to show that letter to at least 5 co-workers and go, you got to see this. He makes some damn good points. I had to fire him, but this crap's funny.
Look at this. This is funny. Look at point 4 here. Okay, we've been saying this for years. Yep.
So about once every 3 years and I was there for maybe once every 2.5, because I think there was 4 that I remember in my nearly 10 years at the other place that someone would have an out-of-body experience, be working too late, and decide to send the letter to the GM, but include the company-wide directory.
Yes, they would. Unfortunately, they would hit like send all.
Send all. And it wasn't, they did it on purpose. This wasn't a reply all. This was, who are you going to send it to? Everybody. Including the corporate office in Naples.
Right.
And the best part is, some of those people then would have their mea culpa and decide that they didn't really want to have sent the letter and go ask for forgiveness and try to get their jobs back.
Right.
After they've told everybody in the company what a pile they think the people who are running the company are.
Right. You burned the house down. All right. Now you want to live in the house? No, you burned it down. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, you have to be a child. You have to be blood to get back in after that. And then you're still at risk. Well.
Okay, well, either a child or very talented. All right, one or the other. And most of us were neither.
Correct.
But, yes, there was one in particular in which it was a resignation letter in which it absolutely napalmed everyone and everything. All right, and then basically, after realizing that it was sent to everyone, okay, tried to do a oops and put the genie back in the bottle.
I'm pretty sure he works where we do now. I'm like 99% positive, but I work in my house, so I have no idea.
And I have a feeling, Mark, to be honest, if to move this along, is I really believe that Rob Manfred and Tony Clark have a relationship much along those lines right now.
I agree.
They can be in the same room talking about the exact same things. And one guy can leave the room thinking we have a deal. And the other guy can leave the room going, we don't have a deal. We're not going to sign this. It is remarkable how far apart and how the two people looking at the exact same thing can see it so differently.
Apparently, David, those who write the headlines were seeing it differently. Because if you looked at 4 different news outlets, you would have thought that baseball was going to start tomorrow in 2 of them.
Well, once again, it shows who you're getting your information from. If you're getting it from the commissioner's office, a deal was imminent.
Right. And Clark comes out and says, we do not even have a deal in principle.
No.
You cannot get further apart than those 2 phrases.
Well, I got to be honest. All right?
Please.
Let's just talk this out. The deal that supposedly Rob Manfred flew to Arizona, for those that don't know, to meet with Tony Clark. Now, this was considered a big deal in and of itself. You know why? Because the 2 guys had not been in the same room looking at one another since March, which, of course, say that out loud. So you guys have been negotiating for the last 12 weeks, yet you haven't been in the same room once? You've just been, what, Zoom? Faxes? Emails? Phone calls? Seriously? I know we got this coronavirus thing going on, but face-to-face negotiation, this is kind of important. It's only the future of the sport. You might want to be able to look the other in the eyes. So Manfred flies to Arizona, meets with Tony Clark. Now, we all know what the owners have been proposing, between 48 and 54 games. And they don't want the union to file a grievance against them. The union wants to get paid 100%
of the prorated salary.
Right. So not the full salary. I mean, Mookie Betts scheduled to make, around $30 million. He's only going to make, 1/3 of that, essentially, if they only play 1/3 of the games. In fact, there's like over 10 players, Mark, who could lose out on over $20 million in revenue. $20 million in revenue by this abbreviated season. So
think they can apply for that PPP grant?
Technically, yes. I mean, you're an independent contractor, right?
I don't know if a baseball player technically is.
You don't think it's Justin Verlander LLC?
I don't know that.
Interesting. We should ask someone. So the owners are proposing 50-ish games. Did the owners really think that by upping 52, 54 to 60, that the union would go, oh, well, that's fine. Oh, yeah, and we'll agree not to file a grievance. I mean, the grievance is only worth about $1 billion. No big deal or anything. I mean, divvy that up among 750 to 900.
What I want to know is what Manfred heard from Clark that made him walk over to reporters and say, we're close to a deal.
Right.
A deal is imminent.
60 games. Did you really think the union was going to accept only to give up their right to file a grievance? And they would accept 60 games? I mean, come on now. Let's just go back to how these negotiations have gone. Don't you think to get the union to give up their right to file a grievance, you'd have to get in the 70-plus game range, damn near half a season?
Yes.
Because the union knows and the owners know the players will win the grievance. So why are they going to willingly leave hundreds of millions of dollars? Now, granted, it's going to take years, but hundreds of millions of dollars on the table. Well, you're going to have to pay them. And the only way to pay them is to play more games.
All I'm thinking of is Rob Manfred as Steve Martin in The Jerk. $1.67. And just handwriting checks out.
Now, there are a couple of other things that apparently are going to happen if they can negotiate a deal. Not in Manfred and Clark don't come to a deal and Manfred has to impose this is what the season's going to be. But expanded playoffs for both this year and next year, which takes us to the end of the CBA. That's interesting because, Mark, what is it we normally don't do? Go backwards. So one would think we have 16 playoff teams this year, 16 playoff teams next year. Are we all of a sudden going to go back to 10?
Not to mention that there is talk of, at least for this abbreviated season and perhaps for 2021, of instituting the universal designated hitter. Something that David
Sorry, Mark. I'm sorry.
No, just something that David and I've said for years. We're against the universal DH, but we want it, if that makes any sense. In our world, we would take the designated hitter out of the game, but they are not going to forego 15 big-time salaries in the American League for that position. We've known this for years. So what's going to come out of this? Expanded playoffs and a universal DH. Both of those things are beneficial to the players.
Well, the playoffs are beneficial to the owners.
And players, though.
Well, true. I mean,
and players.
More guys in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's just a good thing.
But 98% of the money that comes from the playoffs goes to the owners. So that's the players agreeing to give the owners a bone here. It's a way for you guys to make more of your money back. And then it's the Major League Baseball saying to the players, hey, we'll throw you a bone. All right. Basically, we have seen the last pitcher hit is what Rob Manfred is negotiating with Tony Clark. Because they are negotiating for this year and next year a universal DH.
Which means that it would go into the next agreement.
Exactly, because we all thought it was going to come after the next CBA beginning in 2022. We were going to have the universal DH. So essentially, we have seen the last pitcher bat, unless, of course, they run out of players and all that sort of thing. But essentially, we're done seeing pitchers hit. That is what has been negotiated. But two people, same room, and man, baby, they got to talk tomorrow, and then we're going to rubber stamp this, and let's go. And Tony Clark and the players are like, what? Were you in the same room for 4 hours that I was? Huh?
Yeah, we appreciate you coming out and all, but there's no deal.
60 games? We're not agreeing to not file a grievance over what we signed in March. We would agree to try and play as many games as possible. I can't go back to my membership and say 37% of a season is as many games as possible. Plus, it's simple math. I mean, the players are basically looking at the owners going, no doubleheaders. And by the way, if you want to start up around July 19th and go to September 27th, I mean, can we add up how many days that is right now? 27 in September, 31 in August. It's 58, the final 12. That's 70 days. Why are we only playing 60 games? I mean, we don't have to have days off this year.
Well, they might have one or two. So why are we at 68 games? Or
Right.
Yeah.
And why can't we play double headers? Why can't we literally play 1 and 7 o'clock or do what Mark we've talked about? Since you don't have to separate them for the gate this year, there's no need to do 1 and 7. You could just play a double dip beginning at 4. Just play the old-fashioned
Twilight double header.
I mean, the players are looking at him going, why can't we turn every 3-game series into a 4-game series? First day we're in town, we play 2. What's wrong with that? Because I got at least 8 owners that want to cancel. They won't agree to a game over 60.
And that's what I find strange. And I've not been able to get an answer that I buy just yet, David. Because where everyone's losing money, we know, is the gate. Well, I don't know how much they're going to make up for it, but their television contracts are already signed. So why wouldn't they want to play a higher percentage of games on their television contract? This is the part that I don't seem to be grasping, David.
Well, the Turner deal doesn't go into effect for at least another year. Now, they are, however, I believe this is year 1 of the new Fox contract that they signed a year ago.
But, David, I'm not talking about the national deals. I know they make money off the national deals, but baseball makes its money on their regional cable deals. They don't make their money on their national Fox deal. And I'm not trying to poo-poo what you said, and I know they make money off it, but you know my point.
No, and what the owner's point is, though, Mark, is that we're losing money with every game, period. That there's no way for us to even break even. So what you're arguing is, hey, the more games you play, the more local TV money you get. Yeah, I get it, but we actually still lose money that day. So therefore, that's why we want to have less days. We want to lose less money. The players are like, I don't know what to tell you. We're not going to agree to 60 games. We'll agree to like 72, 74, 76, something like. You got to give us another couple of weeks worth of games here. The owners are hell-bent on September 27th, as that's when the season's going to end. The players, of course, proposed you could play damn near through October and then have the playoffs in November.
Which is a bad idea.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a bad idea. If you're going to play in home stadiums, you can't take the chance of a Colorado New York Yankee World Series around Thanksgiving. You just can't.
Right. I agree. Too many places where the World Series could be. I mean, the Twins could make the World Series. You can't have the Twins hosting playoff games in mid-November. Can't do it. Target Field's outside. We don't have the Metrodome anymore to be able to shield us. So, no, I agree. Can't do it. But also, and they're using the coronavirus. And the players, I think, are finding this interesting because they're like, you guys haven't really talked about the coronavirus a whole lot, except when you want to cut the season short. Now, all of a sudden, you're interested in the coronavirus. And Fauci gave them cover 48 hours ago when he said, if I'm baseball, I may even want to end the whole thing at the end of September. Just play during the summer and have the playoffs in September. So baseball's using that because that bolsters their argument. So I find it funny. The two sides right now are the employer and the employee. And the employee has certainly, Mark, sent a few of those letters. Okay, in which, let's face it, in the real world, it would get you fired.
Oh, Matt Scherzer on a daily basis is sending those emails out.
Correct. Trevor Bauer and Max Scherzer would definitely be unemployed. No question about it. No matter how talented they are. All right. They would definitely be unemployed. You can't light Major League Baseball and specifically the commissioner on fire the way those two have and not have there be consequences if it was the real world.
The starting 5 on the other side. We'll get to our poll question in this first hour this morning. A full-on baseball hour today. Give David a couple of days rest after the Tuesday baseball rant to jump into baseball before the 7 o'clock hour.
We had to make sure the FCC was still going to allow Miller and Moulton to continue. Once we got assurances that we're safe, all right, then we could go back to ranting and raving. By the way, great poll question yesterday. People liked it. Got a lot of response.
Well, that's good. I hope you got through the poll question okay of 4 things that David Moulton cannot eat.
I've got people whispering in my ear, moderation, moderation. I'm like, hello, look at me. Moderation and Moulton never went hand in hand.
Moderation and willpower when it comes subscribed to. Right. I cut my daughter off, David. She goes, can you? Yeah, I was asked by the daughter and the wife, can you pick up Oreos at the store? I went, no. They went, what do you mean? I said, no. What do you mean, no? I said, you know why, Maddie? You have one on Monday. You might have one on Tuesday. Then Daddy's watching TV Wednesday night, and he knows that there's a box of Oreos. And right. I have no willpower. You know what happens on Thursday morning? All the Oreos are gone. I've hid the empty box underneath the coffee grounds in the garbage, so it takes everyone 4 or 5 days to figure out that the Oreos have been gone. You just have to figure out how long they've been gone for.
Right. I love putting the empty box back on the shelf.
Well, coffee grounds. The key to everything is get it in the garbage first thing in the morning and then throw the coffee grounds that have been used on top of it, because no one goes beneath the coffee grounds in the garbage box, in the garbage bin.
Correct. I count on that. My wife does coffee every morning. All right. You got to get your hands dirty because then, you've got to strategically place it. It's like surgery. Okay. But that's all right.
Tongs. Tongs.
Man's got to do what a man's got to do.
That's Miller and Moulton right here. Starting 5 is next on Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com, and you are looking live on YouTube and Twitch.
We know Southwest Florida is Gulf Shore strong, and as businesses continue to reopen and try to get back to normalcy, we want to hear from you. Call us at 479-5577, 479-5577. Tell us the name and location of your business, and let us know that you're back and rooting for Southwest Florida.
This is just one of those days, Masterman, Fort Myers. We're back open, and we are Gulf Shore stronger than ever.
No one roots harder for Southwest Florida than Fox Sports Radio.
We are Fox Sports!
Lowe's is working harder than ever to help pros get their job done with services like curbside loading and job site delivery. That's why Lowe's is the new home for pros.
We've got our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples, on the phone. We're talking about their huge selection and great pricing on Core-Tec flooring. Tim, tell us what's new at the store.
Right now we have 90 colors of Core-Tec in stock, ready to go, pick up, put down as soon as you want it. Everything from starting at $299 on up with lifetime warranty.
And it's not just the many colors of Core-Tec that you have. You also have other Core-Tec products as well.
We also carry the Core-Tec stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's Core-Tec, so you get the softness, quietness, and the easy installation to go with it. We also have Core-Tec wood. Look of wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floor Meisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
This message is sponsored by the Florida A&M University Medical Marijuana Education and Research Initiative, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this radio station.
Where I'm from, marijuana is legal. Can I use it in Florida?
Nah, it's illegal here. 20 grams or less is a misdemeanor, and more than 20 grams is a felony.
Well, I have epilepsy. Should I try to get a medical marijuana prescription?
No, bro. Now, that's legal, but talk to your doctor first to see if it's a qualifying condition and if medical marijuana is even right for you.
I will. Thanks.
Cathedral Roofing Innovations. Now, Hurricane Irma was a long time ago, but believe it or not, problems with tile roofs, they continue to occur as a result. Now, many homeowners are just now feeling the effects of the hidden damage that occurred to their tile roof. Now, whether it's new leaks, cracked, unsecured tiles, these roofs are living on borrowed time. Now, tile roofs, by nature of their design, are susceptible to lift and powerful storms like hurricanes. When this occurs, your tile underlayment can be compromised, but you would not realize it until possibly years later. Now, with Cathedral Roofing Innovations, you get a great roofing company to inspect your roof for any damage. And just because you don't have leaks doesn't mean you don't have issues. Just go to cathedralroofingnaples.com. They are the tile experts in Naples.
I don't think we're hearing the death rattle, Jack, because too many people in their own markets like baseball too much.
CathedralRoofingNaples.com.
I think baseball is just a regional sport now, except for the playoffs and the World Series.
I want to talk about Stadium Dry Cleaners. My good friends, they are great people there. I've been going to Stadium Dry Cleaners, I'm telling you, for as long as I can remember. And you may know Larry Rose. Now, Larry is an experienced SEC and NFL referee. Well, I know Larry has a fantastic dry cleaner and a great businessman. Look, you're going to love Stadium Dry Cleaners. They have discounts for our first responders and seniors. They have multiple locations near Publix at Daniels Crossing in Fort Myers, the Gateway Trade Center in Fort Myers, and the Elegant Image Dry Cleaners next to Walgreens on Del Prado in Cape Coral. They are Lee County's leading dry cleaner since 1988. With 30 years of experience in Lee County, I'm telling you, I trust my family's dry cleaning to Larry and the team at Stadium Dry Cleaners. So will you visit them? Visit StadiumDryCleaners.com and look for their monthly specials for great savings.
Breakfast. Breakfast is an English muffin with peanut butter.
Whole wheat?
Believe it or not, apparently white is better. White or whole grain is better than wheat. Which I don't understand why.
For what?
Bread-wise. Oh, I mean, they'd prefer I go whole grain. But
Listen to the Dan Patrick Show at work.
Never boring.
So,
that's for sure.
Streaming 24/7 at FoxSportsFM.com.
We are Fox Sports.
Here we go. Now back to Miller and Moulton.
No.
This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
.632, 28 minutes before 7 o'clock on this Thursday, the 18th of June. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. This and every show on the station streams at FoxSportsFM.com. And as Mark so eloquently put it before the break, we are broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. And to Johnny Mack in our Twitch chat room, who wants to know what's breakfast for me these days, it is an English muffin with peanut butter, Johnny. That's it. That's all I got.
You got an English muffin. You should be happy. You love English muffins.
That's my daily bread intake right there.
Good for you.
So, peanut butter's good for me, apparently.
Good. That's terrific. That's terrific. Someone said add jelly. You can't. Too much sugar. Come on now.
Can't.
Don't.
Thanks. See?
Don't do that.
Right. Don't try to help, because trust me, I want to add. I'm a big math person.
And you're great at quick math, David.
Yes.
And here's the problem: you're only subtracting from this point forward.
Exactly. And I was always an adder my whole life.
And a multiplier.
Oh my goodness, a multiplier. All right. In fact, sometimes I was a divider, because I would divide and then add. Split and conquer. Now, nothing but subtraction. Subtraction sucks. It just does. It sucks in math. It sucks in life. Maybe I could put that on a sign. Subtraction.
Contraction.
Sucks.
We're okay with. We'd like to contract a few leagues.
Right.
We'd like to relegate.
We would love to relegate.
But with that subtraction, there is an addition.
Right. 2 go down, 2 come up. All right, that's can't do it food-wise, Johnny. Appreciate the sentiment. No, stop making suggestions. Honey, no. You think honey has less sugar than jelly? Stop it. Just stop. Leave me alone.
Time now for
the starting 5. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton starting 5. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Rob Manfred and the owners think they have a deal. Tony Clark and the players are like, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. Rob Manfred flew to Arizona apparently on Tuesday. I give him credit. I mean, they kept it quiet for 24 hours. And first meeting between the two sides face-to-face in nearly 3 months. The owners are proposing that the season start around July 19th or 20th. end September 27th. They'd play 60 games, expanded playoffs. You'd have 16 teams, 8 in each league. Over half of the sport would make the playoffs. You'd have a universal DH this year and next year. And the players would agree not to file a grievance. Rob Manfred thinks the players are ready to sign on the dotted line.
We've got a deal with the framework of a deal worked out.
Right.
By framework, what he means, David, is that they're going to play games. They're going to pay the players.
Oh, I thought you were just stopping there because that's pretty much what Tony Clark and the players have agreed upon. Well, I guess we're going to play some games.
Well, I mean, but at least what the framework yesterday was we're going to play games and they're going to get 100% of their prorated salary. That framework the players will deal with.
Yes, that's true. The owners for the first time have said, okay, all right, if you play, we'll pay you a full day's work. All right. That you got us on that. NFL news, Anthony Lynn, he's the head coach of the Chargers. He said, quote, it would be crazy, unquote, not to have Kaepernick on your list of people that you want to work out. He did go on to say, though, he said, I've talked to Kaepernick and not quite sure, where he's coming from. So, and that is something that Pat Kerwood has talked about for a long time. We really do not know, although now, while Kaepernick has not spoken outside of when he talked after that sham of a workout late last year, his agent has publicly contended for the last 3 years that he's working out 5 days a week and he's ready to play. Now, Kaepernick's only given one interview in the last 3+ years, but his agent has always publicly contended he's ready to play. Clearly, teams are not on board with that. That's going to be put to the test, Mark, I have a feeling, in the next 2 months.
Well, and I think what will happen, David, is the first team that contacts him, and if, the word will get out really quickly if Cap's not interested, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The teams have to. Wouldn't you? You call him and he says, I don't know. Then I'm going right to my PR guy. We contacted Colin Kaepernick today, and he gave us basically, I'm not sure if I want to play.
Right.
Your camp, Colin. I could not get that news out. And I had no problem with him kneeling. I know they blackballed him. And I've also said that I don't think he's ever playing football again.
Right.
I've contended that for at least 2 years.
Right. And I've always contended he was going to get another shot. And here we are, 3 full years out of the league. He's 31 years old, and he is still being talked about. But what is interesting is with all this coronavirus talk, there is talk about expanded rosters in a big way, like maybe as many as 12 or 16 on a practice squad. And so your 53-man roster could be a 65-man roster because of the coronavirus, at which point you start stockpiling quarterbacks. I mean, you go back to the 70s, teams had 4 on their roster. I mean, they really did. They had 4. Joe Theismann was the number 4 quarterback in Miami under Don Shula at the beginning of his career. That's why he wanted out. But Kyler Murray, speaking of quarterbacks, he came out yesterday and was like, hell yeah, I'm going to kneel. Yeah. Darn right. And there's going to be a lot of guys with me too. So, now I think people have changed their tune on when we asked, have you changed your tune? It was a small percentage. It was about 8%.
Right. I would think that percentage has gone up from 8 to 12 though, just in the time down here. Just based on conversations I've had with people who have been pretty much line in the sand about certain things that have changed their mind here in the last 30 days. So I would think that that's moved. What I'm curious about, David, because I've now had people that I know tell me that they're going to kneel when they're at games if they're allowed.
Whoa.
Some people pretty close to me. In fact, like the lady who gave birth to me, who said, if you take me to a Bucs game, I'm kneeling. I want to let you know that.
Wow.
I said, really?
That'll be interesting.
Well, there you go. See, the players are one thing. There's a clear line between fan and player. What happens when people in the crowd are kneeling? Because I never once gave that an ounce of thought, David. Never once. Cheerleaders, students at colleges I did, perhaps students at high schools I would. Never thought my 76-year-old mother would say, you're damn right I'd take a knee.
Very interesting.
And I'm curious.
That'll go over well. Oh, I think that'll go over great in the suites. there at the Bucks game. This is a very serious question. What is the statute of limitations on using the N-word? This Mike Gundy story is not going away. Mike Gundy, somebody dug up, I think it was in a Tulsa newspaper, that when Mike Gundy was the quarterback for Oklahoma State back in the very late 80s, that he played a game for the Cowboys in Colorado against CU. And this is when CU was the national power. And Colorado took Oklahoma State. You know, they beat them up pretty badly. 41-17, I think, was the final. But in the game story, in the Tulsa Telegraph, are the Colorado players flat out saying that Mike Gundy called us the N-word. Multiple black players said, yeah, he was calling us the N-word. And, you know, and they talked about how at halftime they went up to other Oklahoma State players and they said, you got to get your quarterback to, you know, shut up or, you know, we're going to have problems. And now afterwards, Gundy was confronted about it. And he said, I didn't say that. That's ridiculous. All right. Half the players on my team are black. All right. Some of my best friends are black. Why would I say that? I never said that. But there are 3 Colorado players who went on the record after that game saying that that was the word that he used. Now, in light of what's happened earlier this week in Stillwater, now this story has been dug up. I mean, one of those players involved for Colorado is Alfred Williams, who had a long NFL career, won a couple Super Bowls with the Broncos. He was a teammate of Shannon Sharpe in Denver. All right. And Shannon talked to Alfred Williams before he did his show yesterday, in which Alfred Williams was like, come on, Shannon, we're black guys. You really think, A, that we'd make something like that up, and B, that we wouldn't remember if somebody called us the N-word? And Shannon, who said, and I grew up in rural Georgia, he goes, I've never had anybody use that word playing sports against me. So it just begs the question, what is the statute of limitations?
Well, I would think 30 years would be at least qualify, but I don't know.
Now, I would think, remember, they hired him. He's been the head coach for 15 years. Okay, and his story is, I never said it. But the story's been brought back up, and the Colorado players involved in the game are insistent that he did, in fact, say it. Now, it was 1989. Does it matter in 2020? Don't know.
I'm not even going to try to say I'm qualified to answer that.
College basketball news, the Gophers got their 3rd transfer yesterday. Booth Gotch, who
he play left wing or does he play basketball?
I know it is a grinder. Does he
sound
like he could be a
Gotch
line guy?
Gotch out there was just, man, he was mucking and grinding all day. Well, hell of a game by Gotch. Don Cherry would talk about Gotch during the coach's corner.
Send the Gotch line out there. We need to shake things up. He's from Austin, Minnesota. He's transferring back home. He needs a waiver, and that is something that a whole lot of college basketball teams are waiting on. Whether or not the NCAA is going to do blanket waivers this year or not, but it would be the 3rd transfer for Richard Pitino and the Golden Gophers this offseason. And Mark, a couple of local notes. I didn't mention this earlier in the week, and I should have. FSW, very proud. They have their first academic All-American.
Very impressive. Saw that, retweeted that the other day. That was awesome.
Owen Bowers, softball players, pre-med, over a 4.0. Their first ever. They only give out 10.
Nationwide.
Yes, nationwide.
Nationwide.
Right. Only 10 academic All-Americans in all of junior college sports. And one of them at FSW, Owen Bowers, softball player. Congratulations. And speaking of softball, FGCU softball standout from back in the day, Cheyenne Jenks, inducted into the ASUN Hall of Fame, or at least elected into the ASUN Hall of Fame yesterday. I believe she is the 4th FGCU athlete to be in the ASUN Hall of Fame. 2nd softball player. And that, Mark, is
the starting 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton Starting 5. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Love everybody in the Twitch chat room talking about all the different kinds of peanut butter. Just it's smooth, creamy. That's it. I don't do chunky. All right.
No, but you don't get the natural peanut butter. You're actually using off the shelf stuff. There's a lot of sugar in that. That's all they're saying. There's a lot of sugar in that. They're just commenting. You brought
some sugar in it. There's not a ton. There's a moderate amount. Peanut butter's not bad. All right. It's something that you're allowed. Yeah, and it sucks. Okay. I mean, Mark, taste has left my life. Okay? It has left my life. I need to keep some taste in my diet. That's it. Besides, got my sugar under control. All right? Just cut me some slack, guys. Give me a chance. I can do this. I know you doubt me, and you have every reason to. Every reason to doubt me. But this is the new Moulton. Post-surgery Moulton.
Skinny D.
Skinny D Moulton.
Miller and Moulton. During this break in the Twitch TV chat room, we will give recipe ideas to David, and he will get infuriated with all of us. That coming up next on Twitch. The rest of you will hear us pay the bills right here on Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
Maybe you could get Jeff Probst to go to Abu Dhabi to host Fight Island.
I even have, by the way, David, I bought it yesterday.
Pretty cool.
They have a peanut butter protein powder, like from a smoothie standpoint, that you can, just so it doesn't taste, I'm actually trying to help.
Major League Baseball, I don't know where we are.
Dan Patrick.
Jack's the only one really on your side.
At 9 a.m. on Southwest Florida's
Thank
Fox
you,
Sports
Jack.
Radio and Fox Sports
I got people, the Williamson brothers, peanut butter with on salary works. I mean, they're
Hey, I've actually added hummus to my life in the last week.
Hummus is delicious.
But I never thought it was, and I still don't think it is.
It's delicious.
It's not delicious.
Yes, actually it is. Baba Ganoush, very good as well.
Your peace of mind.
The best equipped, most experienced weather team. Trust Wink News, the weather authority.
That's right. Skinny
It's
D in the
Fred Kobe with
stash.
your Kobe Cooling Tip of the Day. One of the biggest fears a homeowner has about their home is that the air conditioning
Looks
system
like
will need
he's
to
a
be
member of the
replaced.
1982
Well,
Stanley
folks,
Cup
it's
finalists, the
gonna happen
Vancouver
someday.
Canucks.
So prepare yourself for that day. The good news is
What an
Kobe
awful
Cooling
team.
has a
It's got a little
100%
Clark Gillies to
certified
it.
team of mechanics that actually
No.
fix air conditioners. When you call for service, our unique team will find your issue and fix it.
Actually, it
Your
might
air
have more
conditioner will need to
Schultz
be
from
replaced
Vancouver.
someday.
I was going to say, it's like Tiger Williams.
Oh, there you go.
Still
Tiger
get those
Williams from
giant
Schultz.
firms
There
with
you
cheap service call prices and get a sales technician to sell you a new unit, or you can hire a real
NHL Network's
certified
playing all
mechanic
those
who
Stanley
will
Cup
fix your system
clinching
and help you
games.
plan for the next air conditioner purchase. Call
I watched Lanny McDonald and the Flames
239-482-1542
for a little
real
bit
mechanic,
last night, beat the
not a
Canadians.
salesman in disguise. When you think of air conditioning companies, we
You
help think
laugh
of
at
Kobe Cooling.
just
We're
how
the
many
company
good
your neighbors
players.
use.
You
License
forget
CACO
just how loaded,
57313.
especially that Montreal team was, the names that was on that Montreal team.
Below invoice employee pricing at Galliana Chrysler Dodge.
I mean, Larry Robinson was still playing for him. I mean, there's a defensive pairing out there for half the game of Larry Robinson and Chris Chelios.
Over 1,500 new and certified pre-owned vehicles.
One's 80, one's 10.
Luxurious Grand Cherokee
And no one
Limited
can still
Zero
score.
down,
Right.
$269 per month. That's right. Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. Zero down, $269 per month. Plus
Claude
Galliana
Lemieux.
Chrysler Dodge
Oh,
Jeep
mighty.
Ram.
He
You can drive
ran
pain-free
Mike Vernon
for 4 months,
3
interest
times
free for 6
in
years,
1 period.
and worry-free
Only
up to
got 1
100,000
penalty.
miles. Our parts service and body shop are open to
I
serve
just
you.
laughed.
Below
My
invoice
God almighty,
employee
he was such a
pricing
prick.
At Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, 1/2 mile south of Daniel.
He does. He has to avoid sodium, too. He basically can't have anything. Let's just get down to
now
it.
the sodium, the good thing is I've never had a high sodium diet. Sodium's not a problem. In fact, the last time I went to the doctor, they thought my sodium was low because I drink so much water. So sodium's not really the concern.
But you told me earlier that you're watching sugar and salt.
I am, but I'm not watching salt as much anymore. I'm much more worried about sugar than I am salt.
Book value for your trade-in.
You wear a mask?
Hundreds of
Yes.
US
Well, that's all that really matters.
from, all backed by our
Because if you wear the mask, the
exclusive
salt
lifetime
can't get, the
warranty.
sugar can't get through the mask.
Really?
Pick out your favorite at
did not realize that.
NaplesNissan.com.
We need a poll
and
question.
Come see us on Pine Ridge
We
Road
do.
to find out the KBB.com current market value for your trade-in. And we'll give you $8,000 more so you can drive that brand new Nissan home today. If KBB says it's worth $5,000, Naples Nissan will give you $13,000.
Are you in favor of the universal
If KBB
DH?
says $10,000, we'll give you $18,000. You must act fast, though. Visit NaplesNissan.com for full details. Offer on select models with approved credit and cannot be combined.
This message is sponsored
Can
by
we
the
put
Florida
yes,
A&M
no,
University
I hate
Medical
baseball?
Marijuana Education and Research Initiative, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this radio station.
Pretty strong.
Where I'm from, marijuana is
Yes,
legal.
no,
Try and
doesn't
use it
matter.
until-
I won't watch
Nah,
anyway.
It's illegal here, man.
But I
Right.
have PTSD.
Okay.
Should I at least try to
Because
get medical
there's so
marijuana?
many anti-baseball
That's
people
legal,
out there.
but
I think
if
that
were
would
you,
win.
I talked to my doctor about qualifying conditions and to find out if medical marijuana is even
Yeah, it
right
doesn't
for you.
matter. Won't watch.
Thanks. I'll talk to my doctor.
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
9 minutes before 7 o'clock on this Thursday, the 18th of June. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Make sure you sign up for the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. They are interactive and they're free. And get ready for the revamped millerandmoulton.com, which is also where you're going to be able to go to listen to the show. Download our podcast, all that sort of thing. millerandmoulton.com. Good poll question yesterday. Got a lot of response. Your favorite meal involving hamburger that is not a hamburger. And much to my surprise, Mark, I don't think yours, but much to my surprise, tacos ran away with it.
Yeah.
48%, I think. Last I saw, there was about 5 minutes left in the voting when I looked. Tacos at 48%. Meatloaf at 25%.
I got to hand it to Meatloaf because, first off, I started this poll question out, David. I said in this chat room that shepherd pie is incredibly overrated. Incredibly overrated. British food in general is god-awful. So don't throw their staple on something as we're going to talk this as food. But Meatloaf was getting killed. Meatloaf was down at the bottom, and it battled its way back to second yesterday.
It did.
It's a strong silver medal, David.
Yes. Well, and then, that's kind of where I roll, Mark. I just want to be a strong silver medal. And that's where Meatloaf finished. And as it turned out, Sloppy Joe's coming from behind edged shepherd's pie out for the bronze 14% to 13%. But a big response yesterday, and we appreciate that. Thanks so much for listening and for taking part. Now, Mark, and I didn't bring this up yesterday, but the original shepherd's pie has lamb.
Okay.
Again, people who,
it's a whole country that doesn't know how to eat properly. I spent 6 weeks over there. No. See, I actually have factual data on this. This is not like I'm just making something up. After my sophomore year in college, I lived in London for 6 weeks. I took a summer of school, took my humanities credits at Regent's College in London. The only reason I didn't gain 40 pounds on that trip, because the beer was phenomenal, is that none of us had any food. The food was so bad, we barely would eat for the entire summer.
You know what? Maybe that's what I need to do. I need to go on the British food diet because I feel like I'm on it now, the no-taste diet. But poll question, and we're going to go back to it's the baseball hour. We're going to go back to baseball. They're proposing a few things, and it looks as if we have seen the last pitcher hit in Major League Baseball. Looks as if we're about to get the universal DH, and so we are asking you okay with this?
And David and I have been okay for a while.
We got over it. We don't prefer it, but we got over it.
No, but this would be no three-pointers in the Eastern Conference, three-pointers in the Western Conference.
Right. That's what we've always argued.
2 feet and bounds in the NFC, 1 foot and bound in the AFC.
Right. It is amazing that a major sport like baseball could have two completely separate rules.
And it was cute when we did not have interleague play, but we have interleague play every day now.
Correct.
So it doesn't make sense. And we know the unions for the universal DH because that gets more than a middle reliever. I mean, that's really whose job you're taking.
Yes. DH is one of the higher paid salaries by position, if you will, in the sport. So the union's all for another 15 jobs that are higher paying.
So the question today is, are you for or against the universal DH in baseball? For it, against it, done watching, period. I couldn't do a baseball question without a third option that means I don't do baseball anymore. Because I think if we just had a yes-no, we'd have about 100, 150 votes. You add the done watching period, which I think will win this competition, or at least battle hard, you include everybody. And that's what we want to do, right, David? Just include everybody.
Right. We're a show of the people, Miller and Moulton. That's how we roll. But this is something I've evolved on. I was against it for the longest time. And then in the last 10 years, A, came to the realization it was going to happen. And then B, just kind of reconciled myself. And Mark, it really was when they started playing interleague play every day. It was like, well, okay, then there's really no reason to have the quote unquote charm of, it was one thing when you went all the way to the World Series.
Yes.
1 minute.
And then it was like, oh, okay, well, now we got some strategy. The Red Sox can't use David Ortiz when they play on the road, or they're going to have to play Ortiz at first and sit someone else out of the lineup. Okay. Really helps them at home, really hurts them on the road. Oh, okay. Home field advantage, then it could be a big deal. So that's our poll question. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
And that was part of it to me. And the other one was David and I knew a long time when we first started discussing this, your choices are not go back to pitchers hitting, universal DH, or keep it the same. It was going to be keep it the same or universal DH. And keeping it the same doesn't make any sense anymore, given the fact that pitchers after high school are not hitting anymore.
Miller and Moulton. Cole Kubelik to join us in the 8 o'clock hour to talk college football.
We've got our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples, on the phone. We're talking about their huge selection and great pricing on Core-Tec flooring. Tim, tell us what's new at the store.
Right now we have 90 colors of Core-Tec in stock, ready to go.
I'm glad you knew when the guest was coming, because it just has guest on here without time.
I was able to figure it out because when he sent out the show tweet, he put 8:30.
Gotcha.
But I sent him a text actually that said what time.
Other Core-Tec products as well.
But then figured it out when I saw the tweet.
Looks like tile, looks
I
like
didn't even
stone,
see the
but
tweet.
it's Core-Tec, so you get the softness, quietness, and the easy installation to go with it. We also have Core-Tec wood.
Oh, there it is.
Wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floor Meisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
For professional roofing,
All right, Twitch chat room. Any of you work in any services where you sell? My other company has what's called a temp tab. It is a tablet that takes your temperature, has facial recognition software, and sits in whether it's a school, an office, wherever. I'm a distributor. Reach out to me if you're interested, because there is a blank ton of money in this.
Driving means
freedom,
exploration,
fun,
pride,
flexibility,
travel,
protection,
friendship,
escape,
independence.
Distracted driving means
danger,
recklessness,
irresponsible,
chaos.
I'm as Comcast free as I've ever been.
Safe driving means staying alert.
Still have their crappy Comcast business internet, but I got my own modem yesterday, so I'm not renting anything from those horrible people. Really feel free, David.
Wow.
WFSX AM from Naples to Cape Coral and all of Southwest Florida. 105.9 Fox Sports Radio. We are Fox Sports.
You all right there?
Here's what's trending
Yeah,
now.
I did something.
Brought to
I
you by
just
the
screwed
Center
up.
for Men's Health.
Uh-oh.
C4MH.com.
I don't know what you screwed up. I still hear you. I still see you.
Uh-oh. Damn.
What is there something I can help with? Because I still hear you fine.
Damn. I don't know. I moved the mouse and I inadvertently, I guess, hit something. Like I lost the time in the lower right corner. My picture, which used to be the middle of the screen, is now in a small square over on the right.
Okay, so you shrunk it. All you got to do is go down to the bottom and where that icon that's the ring manager, it's a yellow orange box with a white circle in it. Click that back on and it should come back to where it was. Where all your programs that are running on the bottom there?
It says mute, stop video, invite, participants, share, chat, and record.
Yep, that's it.
Oh, I didn't mean on that. Go to the top right then, next to speaker view, and hit enter full screen.
On Twitch because I needed content. That's what
It's not there.
And Moulton.
Don't know what to tell
We
you.
need to explain to her the pilot
I was thinking on the
program.
bottom of your whole thing,
25
David, where
hours of
all of your
programming a
programs are,
week.
not where the
So
Ring
you
Central
need to
is.
deliver your 12
You just have it
minutes
minimized.
a day, 5 times a week, because that's an hour, honey.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Oh, I like
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
I like
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Couple minutes past 7 o'clock on this Thursday morning. Thanks so much for being with us. We're Miller and Moulton. This is Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com and broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. You can chime into the show via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line at 479-5551, 479-5551. Cole Kubelik to join us coming up next hour to talk a little college football. Baseball, the big story heading into this day. Is a deal imminent, or, quite frankly, showing the dysfunction between the two sides, even when they meet face-to-face for 4 hours? One side comes out of the room thinking one thing, and one side comes out of the room thinking something entirely different.
That's better than what it's been, though. You know, the funny part is, David, as bad as that is, it is 1,000% better than the dialogue they were having for the last 3 weeks. They actually were in the same room. They actually did agree to framework, which is they're going to play baseball games and get paid 100% of the prorated salary.
Yes, the owners finally did relent on that. Something that we have been saying from the beginning was an absolute non-starter for the players. Mark, ultimately, this comes down to this. The owners, Manfred clearly had to arm wrestle the owners to get 60 games. I mean, that's how much the owners don't want to play. That's how short a season the owners want to have. And he's like, listen, we got to give them more than 48 to 50 something games. I mean, you know, can we at least have the first digit be a 6? Yeah, okay, sure, fine. Figure it out. So the players want closer to half, which is around 80. You know, they'd settle for 74, 76, something like that. If you're the owners, Mark, are you willing to blow this whole thing up over 14 games?
David, I'm not going to answer your question because I don't think that's a relevant question. I think the ultimate question is, are you willing to blow it up because you think you're going to lose too much money? I don't think 60 or 74 has anything to do with those 7, 8, 9, 10 owners. It's what you said in our opening hour. Every game they play, they're going to lose money in their estimation. So there are at least 7 that we believe right now say we're not playing, period, end of sentence, because we're not going to make money. So I don't think it matters to them whether it's 50, 60, 74, 80. I think the ultimate question is, you do.
I do. Yes, I think it's the difference between Manfred being able to get 23 owners to agree to a deal versus Manfred not being able to get 75% of the owners to agree to a deal. That, because of what you pointed out, the owners claim they are losing money with every game. Therefore, every extra game Manfred agrees to is more money out of their pocket. They clearly have instructed him, this is as far as we're going to go. And we're going to go 100%. The owners feel as if, we gave you another week or so. If you really want to argue, the owners could say we gave you 2 weeks more games because we were going to do 48. We gave you 2 weeks more games, and we agreed to pay you 100%. The players are looking at it like, whoop-de-damn-do. We all knew we were getting 100% prorated. Okay, so that's a you problem. You're not giving us anything, quite frankly. We've always gotten paid a full day's pay for a full day's work. So that's not a concession as far as we're concerned. And whoop-de-damn-do, you gave us 6 to 8 more games. You got to be kidding me.
And I understand your point. I just believe that, and maybe, David, maybe it's owners 8, 9, and 10, that 50 they play and 60 they don't. But I think that there's 7 owners right now that it doesn't matter how many games are put on the schedule, that they're not playing this season in their eyes.
Well, and that's fine, though. The problem is if there's 8, because 8 can stop the league from operating. My guess is Manfred would not offer a proposal that he didn't know he could get 23 yes votes for. I think the problem is the players are going to insist on 76 games, and Manfred knows he's got 1, 2, 3, however many more owners that go, I'm not agreeing to that. I will bite hard and agree to 60. I am not agreeing to 74, 76. And so that's why I believe that that's the issue right now, that this has come down to 2 to 3 weeks worth of games. And are the owners willing to essentially say, the heck with this, Rob, institute what the season's going to be. We'll see you in court over the next 5 years. And by the way, the 2021-22 CBA negotiations have now begun, and they are begun ugly.
And largely, it seems that they're missing what the public's thinking because, David, I started to believe your line of thinking that any season less than 50 is an absolute joke. It's terrible. It's worthless. The champion doesn't deserve it. And you were beating me down with that for a few days. So it was kind of all I was hearing because you're the most passionate baseball fan I talked to. And then I talked to other baseball fans, not as passionate, but still love the game. And they're telling me, I don't give a damn. Give me 48. I want baseball. So I've always contested that if they lose this season, they're losing people forever. And I do think it's important. When I hear a couple of people that are the direct opposite of you, who don't think it's a joke, who just want the game to be played, they've got to figure something out to get a partial season in because they could lose that guy. And they lose that guy, they're in big trouble.
If we asked football fans, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to ask you right now because baseball is a bit polarizing. There are a lot of people that are no longer baseball fans. So like our poll question today, in which we ask a yes and a no, and then you threw in a third option, which is, it's baseball. I don't give a damn. All right. But most people care about football. Can everybody be honest with me right now? If the NFL played a 6-game regular season, would you consider the Super Bowl champion legit? A 6-game regular season, because that's the equivalent of a 60-game baseball regular season. Never mind the fact that up till yesterday, baseball was only proposing essentially a 5-game NFL regular season.
All right, whether they would or wouldn't, to me, can you make sure, though, when you ask that question, if we had 1 year because of a pandemic that we were forced into a corner to do this, would you rather have no season or a super abbreviated season? Because I do think your point's valid, David. Yeah, would you? No, a 6-game season would be bunk. But if there were all these circumstances around it that forced our hand into what it was, would you rather have a 6-game season in the NFL? Because the question about the champion to me is irrelevant. The question is, would you rather have a 6-game NFL season or a 0-game NFL season?
Mark, if the reason baseball is having a 60-game regular season was the coronavirus, all right, but
that's why it started. We're here because of that.
Well, I understand that, but we're not having the abbreviated season that we're probably going to end up with because of the coronavirus. I mean, we're not.
Well, it's certainly one of the reasons, David.
We're having it because the owners don't want to play. I mean, that's why. I mean, they could play 2 games a day.
Okay, but fine. And I'm just going back to your football argument. If we had a 6-game season versus a 0-game, it's not whether the champ would be legit. You can argue that all day long. Sure, fine. But ask the fan if they want a 6-game NFL season or a 0-game NFL season. And I think you would be 75 regular season versus a 0-game regular season.
Oh, yeah.
And in fact, I think our question looking back at baseball, David, was actually worded wrong. You're right. The champion, you put an asterisk, whatever you want next to it. Would you rather have a 50-game baseball season or a 0-game baseball season? That's really the question now. And it sounds like you would rather have a 0-game season.
Well, I'll pay attention to both the exact same way. I mean,
that's fine.
To me, it'd be an absolute farce. It would be a farce.
But that looking back on that, I think we asked the question incorrectly. I think it just 0-game season or a 50-game season. Because if the answer is 0, then baseball's in really big trouble.
Well, I don't think the answer would be 0. I mean, if you're going to frame it that way, it's the old something is better than nothing. It's the old multiplication of y times it by 0.
I know, but you have contested that 50 and 0 is the exact same thing to you.
Well, it is to me. I don't think it would be for the masses. I think that they would take something over nothing. All right. But I'm sorry. Even if the team I root for won the World Series this year, if it's a 60 or less game regular season, it's a joke. It is. It's a gimmick. It's a fluke. It's not legit. I'm sorry. It just isn't. I would not celebrate, and it had nothing to do with how old I am now versus how old I was then. But I'm sorry, if you're a Yankees fan, are you really going? And oh my goodness, the Yankees
27, baby,
a whole decade,
27,
a whole decade without going to and winning a World Series. I know it's been such a drought.
All right, here's a question for you, David.
You win the World Series this year. Are you going to celebrate the 2020 World Series the way you've celebrated all the others in your lifetime?
Let me ask you a legitimate question, David. Which championship is more legitimate? The 2020 World Series champion or the 18 Houston Astros championship?
17.
Or 17, rather. I'm sorry.
That's you know what? That's a great poll question. Right?
I mean, there you go.
That's a great poll question.
Stop Moulton in his tracks right there for half a second. I silenced him.
Well, because one cheated.
Right, and one's playing a season against everybody else under the same rules.
One blatantly cheated, and the other,
is just
was 2 months.
But playing against all the teams. Everybody played by the same rules. We don't think anybody's banging on trash cans. So the 17 Astros are the 2020 whomevers.
Wow. That's a good one. Well, you know me. I would have taken the World Series away from them. And I know, they'd laugh at me. You laughed at me then, they'd laugh at me now. I would have taken the World Series away from them. You're darn right I would have. Blatantly cheat like that. We're going to reward you. We're going to take away 2 draft picks and fine a billionaire $5 million. Wow. What a penalty. I mean, literally, you had 29 other teams go, that's it. So if I can cheat to win a World Series, that's all we're going to get. We're going to lose 2 draft picks, and the owner's going to lose a little bit of money. You know how much money we made off that World Series? $5 million. Hell, that's a tip jar compared to the money we made off this. So, yeah, that 60-game season would be more legit.
Yes, it would.
I view this year's World Series championship as more legit than the Astros in 2017.
There we go. I'm bringing them over, baseball fan. Look what I've just done to the baseball guy.
Well, you got to remember, though, I said I would take the Astros championship away. That's where I am on that. But if you're going to frame it that way, if I have to do either or, you got me. You got me. I would.
Well, your original, that was your poll question on the 50-game thing. So I just kind of spun it back and threw it in your face a different way.
That's fair enough. That is fair enough. And boy, talk about a team that is just going to get away with it. I mean, they are no fans at the games. They're not going to have anybody banging trash cans and whistling when they play. They're not going to face those daily media questions because, what's the media going to ask them? Nobody's taunting them. Nobody's giving them a hard time. I mean, talk about getting away with it. My goodness.
It is the travesty of the 2020 baseball season. Of all of the things that actually impacted me as a sports fan, driving to Tampa to bang on a garbage can, to yell at Astros players. I mean, Moulton and I were going up for a day to heckle Astros. And we're going to feel good about it. And I was going to give it to one of my baseball heroes the whole game. I'd have sat behind, if Verlander wouldn't have pitched, I'd have sat behind the bullpen and yelled at him for 3 hours.
We would have gone to Ace Hardware on the way there. We would have had so much stuff walking in the Trop with. No cash, because apparently you can't pay cash for anything inside the Trop. But, man, we would have looked like the hardware store going in the Trop this year for a Rays Astros game. And we had the series picked out, too. They had like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday series where they were playing a getaway day on a Wednesday. I mean, there was going to be 7,400 people at this game, too. I mean, our sounds would have resonated. You would have heard us on the broadcasts. Dwayne Statz and B.A., Brian Anderson, they would have been coming after us going, will you guys shut up? We're trying to broadcast a game.
Yeah, because we'd have caught him once with a good line and they'd have laughed, and that's what it ticked him off. That's the only thing that would have angered him.
We would have had players stepping out of the box because they're laughing at some of the stuff that we were saying. Absolutely. Astros aren't going to get any of that.
None. And by the time we get to 2021, I think largely people will have, I don't know, forgotten about the Astros, but there are bigger things to worry about now than the Houston Astros banging on a garbage can by the time we get to the 2021 season.
I liked it when life was so much simpler, all right? When going after the Houston Astros was a big deal, where it was something we could get really worked up about. That's the beauty of sports. Getting all worked up about stuff that in the grand scheme of things doesn't mean us occupied. It keeps us interested, keeps the juices flowing. That's sports' role in society. And now you give us a pandemic, all right? All the other stuff we're dealing with, 40 million people losing their jobs, tens of millions of other people losing income while still keeping their jobs. We're fighting for survival here. Astros doesn't seem like that big a deal.
Right now, our rage is actually going against things that matter, David, instead of an insignificant sporting event. You know, the way we liked it around here.
What's that all about? Getting all upset about stuff that really matters. That's not our role in society. We're sports. Get worked up about stuff that means nothing. That's what this whole format's about. Now, racial equality, a pandemic.
You know, stuff that matters.
Jobs, money. No, the Astros cheated. This is important.
Supposed to be watching the U.S. Open right now, ignoring Moulton.
Right. Instead, we're in Hilton Head, South Carolina. What the heck? Where Matt Kuchar can contend. Matt Kuchar can't contend in a major. He can contend this week.
Miller and Moulton. Today was a day when, about 25 minutes away. We'll talk a little college football in the 8 o'clock hour as well. We thank you so much for listening on Fox Sports Radio, where we stream at foxsportsfm.com.
I'm going to go outside and just bang a garbage can.
David will be banging a garbage can from his studio. I'll be figuring out what time I'm going to have meatloaf in mind. Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for listening to Fox Sports Radio.
This is The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Kobe Bryant told us this. A ball-centric style is exhausting, and by the time you get to the playoffs, you just don't have much left in the tank. James Harden has lost his legs in the playoffs over and over and over. He goes through droughts and bad nights. We really don't see much in the regular season. James needs the whistle. Refs don't give you the whistle in the playoffs.
Colin Cowherd. Weekdays at noon on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
At Wink News, we've invested millions in the technology that shows you approaching storms. First, fast, and local.
And during hurricane season, we know the weather is what you're watching for.
We've got tools no other station has to show you what you need to know to keep your family safe.
At Wink Weather, our mission comes down to one thing:
your peace of mind.
The best equipped, most experienced weather team. Trust Wink News, the weather authority.
No matter where you're boating, with Towboat US, you're covered by the world's largest towing fleet with over 300 ports nationwide. Your local Towboat US companies in Charlotte, Lee, and Collier counties are here to help 24/7, 365 days a year. Inland, the river to Lake O, and out 75 nautical miles. And new membership pricing starts as low as $99. Call 239-945-1664 for more information, or visit towboatuscapecoral.com. With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water.
People often ask me, how did you grow my shower door so big and so fast? But the answer is, we didn't. What we did is we took our family business, we hired great talent, trained our staff, and developed our product. Now, after 17 years, my shower door has 8 frameless shower door showrooms, with our newest in Cape Coral. If you're looking for a frameless shower door company that you can trust and research, and you want to see more, go to myshowerdor.com.
This message is sponsored by the Florida A&M University Medical Marijuana Education and Research Initiative, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this radio station.
Where I'm from, marijuana is legal. Can I use it in Florida?
Nah, it's illegal here. 20 grams or less is a misdemeanor, and more than 20 grams is a felony.
Well, I have epilepsy. Should I try to get a medical marijuana prescription?
Now that's legal, but talk to your doctor first to see if it's a qualifying condition and if medical marijuana is even right for you.
I will, thanks.
We've got our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples, on the phone. We're talking about their huge selection and great pricing on Core-Tec flooring. Tim, tell us what's new at the store.
Right now we have 90 colors of Core-Tec in stock, ready to go, pick up, put down as soon as you want it. Everything from starting at $299 on up with lifetime warranty.
And it's not just the many colors of Core-Tec that you have. You also have other Core-Tec products as well.
We also carry the Core-Tec stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's Core-Tec, so you get the softness, quietness, and the easy installation to go with it. We also have Core-Tec wood. Look of wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floor Meisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
Cathedral Roofing Innovations. Now, Hurricane Irma was a long time ago, but believe it or not, well, problems with tile roofs, they continue to occur as a result. Now, many homeowners are just now feeling the effects of the hidden damage that occurred to their tile roof. Now, whether it's new leaks, cracked, unsecured tiles, these roofs are living on borrowed time. Now, tile roofs, by nature of their design, are susceptible to lift and powerful storms like hurricanes. When this occurs, your tile underlayment can be compromised, but you would not realize it until possibly years later. Now, with Cathedral Roofing Innovations, you get a great roofing company to inspect your roof for any damage. And just because you don't have leaks doesn't mean you don't have issues. Just go to cathedralroofingnaples.com. They are the tile experts in Naples, and they will start the inspection process right away. Just go to cathedralroofingnaples.com. cathedralroofingnaples.com.
License number CCC 1331928.
I'm a busy person. Catch the show anytime. Check out MillerandMoulton.com and subscribe to the daily podcasts. Here we go. Now back to Miller and Moulton. Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
25 minutes past the hour. Thanks for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Today was the day when, coming up in roughly 20 minutes' time, Cole Kubelik an hour from now. We'll talk a little college football here on Miller and Moulton. When we went to break, Mark, a Fox Sports Radio national promo aired in which Colin Cowherd mentioned James Harden, which made me think of something that I saw last night before I fell asleep, which is, and I don't know if it was Cowherd or it was Gottlieb, but it was someone reporting that the owner of the Houston Rockets is in such financial straits because of the coronavirus that his business empire is crumbling, and that he may have to sell the team, but at the very least, he's going to have to sell off either Harden or Westbrook. Not going to be able to afford them both. Not going to be able to afford to be one of those teams that's over the cap and has got to pay the tax and that sort of deal. And this is something, we brought this up a couple months ago one time. But this also goes to, much of what we have spent this show on talking about the baseball agreement, in which there are many players, and they've said this publicly to the owners, hey, you can't afford to do business during bad times, sell the team.
Well, it's interesting, David, and we have pointed out this particular owner. Now, according to Forbes, his real-time net worth, I'm literally looking this up as we speak, Tillman Fertitta, I believe is how you say his last name. He is the chairman and CEO of the Landry's Food Corporation. That's their restaurants all over the country, as well as he owns, I believe, the Golden Nugget Casino, which Landry's Seafood is that. It's Saltgrass Steakhouse. It's the Bubba Gump Shrimp Company. He is worth, according to Forbes, as of this moment, $5 billion. Now, he lost $450,000 just yesterday. So I don't know what he was worth. He bought he lost a half. $450,000 yesterday.
Okay.
That was what he lost just yesterday.
That's not
Went down 0.01. By the way, he lost $500,000 yesterday. That's 0.01% change.
Exactly.
Just to give everybody an idea. He bought the Rockets in 2017 for $2.2 billion. He took Landry's private in 2010 with a deal worth up to $1.4 billion. So while his wealth may be on paper pretty good, it is in the industries that he's in, the restaurant industry and the casino industry. Not ones I want to jump into right now.
No, he's had a rough 2020. There's no doubt about it. And no guarantee when you're going to be able to come out of this. And there's no guarantee even going into early 2021 as to when you're going to be able to come out of this and be operating at anything close to capacity again. There's no question about it. And I'm sure when you've got those kind of businesses that you're leveraged a little bit.
Absolutely.
So, but that was the report that came out late yesterday. And this is, as you mentioned, this is a guy who's on paper worth $5 billion. And this is something that is being talked about, particularly in Major League Baseball. Well, for example, Mark, and it happens to be the team that I root for, but the people who own the Mets cannot afford that. I mean, they were barely covering their loans and their debts during good seasons.
No, you're right. That A-Rod and J-Lo money might look better now.
It's sad that they may end up being, and I love J-Lo, but it is sad that they may end up being the new owners of the Mets, who apparently are going to be bought at a discount, a tremendous discount.
And quick sidebar, or will they? I mean, at what point, I know he's got to sell, but, you know, commissioners have negated sales of teams before because they don't think the money's right. You know, there's to be 29 other owners that are going to be beside themselves if the New York Mets sell for a discount.
Oh, I know.
It's not the Royals or the Marlins.
Exactly. Right. The Mets can't sell for what the Pirates would go for. I agree. The problem is these people did not become billionaires by paying $3 billion for something that they can get for 1.4. And that's apparently what's going on here. Everybody knows that the Mets owners are in trouble. I mean, apparently they had to call the bank recently. They have a loan that's due at the end of the month, and they can't make it. And they need like Chase Bank to push it back a month or two to allow for them to sell the team in order for them to cover this particular loan.
Anybody else having those same issues with billions of dollars? Any banks being that sympathetic with you with your car payment, your mortgage, your landlord with rent? Sorry, David, go on.
Well, and the funny thing, though, is that there's no guarantee that the bank's going to push it back. I mean, Chase could be like, no, sell the damn team. Get us our money. We all know you could sell the team. It's not like there aren't people willing to buy the team. You're trying to buy more time to make yourself more money. We want our money. Now, by the way. Now.
In your corner, working for you.
For you now, right. But this is something that is out there. And granted, this is above most of our pay grades. And, we understand going check to check and week to week and month to month and all that. But how many owners out there, name the sport, are going to have to sell or at the very least take on minority owners?
There you go.
Or a cash infusion so that they can keep their franchises.
Because the Pittsburgh Steelers earlier this week sold less than 5% of their franchise to the group that has, is it the Devils?
And the Sixers.
And the Sixers, right?
Who are also looking to buy the Mets.
Now, I understand that, but they bought less than 5%. But do you know what less than 5% of the Steelers cost them? It was 9 digits.
Right. It was like $140 million. Right. Which I think is like a $3 billion evaluation for the franchise. If you go with that as
so 5%. I think you'll see a lot more of that than outright selling.
But think about that. A guy who's 6 months ago, Mark, the owner of the Houston Rockets was swimming in money. He was fine.
Right. The economy's churning. People are going to casinos. People are eating at his restaurants. His stadium, his arena's full. He's got a team full of 6'6", 6'7" guys that can shoot. No, life's pretty damn good, David.
Exactly. In February, they ripped off like 8-10 in a row, and he's doing just fine. And now 4 months later, he's probably going to have to get rid of Harden and or Westbrook. That's number one. Number two, he may have to get rid of the franchise. And this just in, there are not a ton of people who can pay $2 billion. See, this goes back to Steve Ballmer buying the Clippers from Donald Sterling. When he grossly overpaid for the Clippers, it raised everybody else's value of their franchise. That's why Steve Ballmer's so damn popular. He paid $2 billion for something he could have gotten for $800 million, maybe $1 billion. But he paid $2 billion, and all the other owners said, "We love you, man. We love you."
I have been lucky enough to actually have sat and had beers with an owner of a professional sports team. I was going up to play in a golf tournament in Plymouth, Mass. every year. And one of the members at the course that I play is a guy by the name of Roger Marino. And I played in his flight for 2 years in a row. And Roger, at one time, was the owner of the Pittsburgh Penguins. And we got a delay before a match. And it was just he and I in the bar in the clubhouse for 40 minutes. And I remember going, did you want to sell the team? He goes, no, I was broke. The team was worth less than what I owed Mario Lemieux. I said, here, take it, please. I couldn't afford to pay him. But, we got talking, and I just remember him saying, would you do it again? He goes, well, one, I could never afford to do it again. This guy has his name on a building where Boston University plays hockey. It's the Marino Center or whatever. I mean, this is not a poor man who's looking at me, who's got 2 nickels to rub together going, I could never afford that again. And that's what I thought of when you talk about these owners losing their team. They're not getting one back.
No.
They're not getting one back. And think about whatever it is you love the most that's not a wife or a child. And the car that you love, the house that you love, your boat, and you got to give that up because you're broke. It's pretty tough to go get those things back. Now think of when there's only about 120, 140 franchises that are worth buying if you throw MLS in there. In the country. You're not getting this franchise back, ever. And these guys, from an ego standpoint, this is their baby. It's not their business. That's where they make money. Their team is where they show off their money.
I believe if you throw in the MLS, because what's the MLS at? 26, 27 teams?
About 150 now then, right? But, bordering on 150 teams.
Yes, if it's 27 MLS teams, if you were to include them, that would make it an even 150. Because we got 32 NFL, 31 hockey, and baseball and basketball are each 30. Now, in a couple years, we're going to have a 32nd NHL team. So we have 123 teams in which to own them, you basically have to pay $1 billion minimum to buy. The Cowboys and the Yankees are both $4 billion if you want to buy them away from the Steinbrenner and the Jones families. I mean, it's $4+ billion to own those. But now, basically all these other franchises, and that's what the players, Mark, in baseball especially, have said publicly to the owner of the Cubs, to the DeWitt family, to others in the sport ownership who have cried poverty here. We just don't make any money. And they've all said, well, then sell the damn team.
Well, and that's the one with the Cubs I kind of laugh at. Some of the other owners that have been around for a while, if they're crying that, I'll listen to them a little more. To the Ricketts family, I don't know what to tell you. You overpaid for a franchise. And you've owned it for 10 years? They bought that in 2010-ish, somewhere right around there?
Yeah, a little before that.
But I mean,
a couple years
I don't know what to tell you. You bought one of the most popular franchises in the sport, and you spent a king's ransom to do so.
And yet
that's on you.
Argue, but it's a bargain now. I mean, they could sell it for over double what they paid.
Right.
I mean,
well, then don't cry. Then don't cry poverty.
Well, right, and that's what the players are saying. Now, I do think, like, we had someone in the Twitch chat room who asked, I think it was Nick, early in the show, asked, how come it's always so contentious in baseball between the players and the owners? Well, the answer is real simple. The system that is set up for conflict. There is no partnership. The players and the owners are not partners. It's pure capitalism. It's every man for himself on both sides. Period. The other sports have revenue sharing. Now, we could argue how much of a partnership is it really. We all think the owners try to make it seem as if it is more a partnership than it really is. We all know the owners are getting far more than 50% of the revenue in the sport than the players. We all know that. The owners hide revenue. They don't put revenue as part of the revenue sharing. They keep that for themselves. But there is still billions of dollars that is split 50-50. And in some cases, it's actually been split more than 50-50 in favor of the players. Not in baseball. I mean, they can barely work it out where they get revenue sharing amongst the teams. The Yankees don't want to give the Rays X amount of money.
And it's what has created the huge difference. It's, yes, we understand that New York and Boston, but these regional TV deals, those teams that have redone them, you still have a handful of teams that are still on old TV deals. They're getting crushed.
The Rays just redid their TV deal. If you listen to the ownership of the Rays, they go, well, this now can make it so that we can make a little bit of money and have an $80 million payroll, as opposed to having to have a $50 million payroll that we've had in the past. Now, we have no idea if these guys are lying through their teeth or telling the truth. But I thought that story is worth just throwing out there. This is a guy worth $5 billion. but his business empire is collapsing around him with no end in sight.
And he ain't losing all $5 billion without jumping off the ship, if you know what I mean.
And if it's to save his restaurants, to save his casino, or to hold on to his NBA team, which do you think he unloads or lets go under first?
David, that's a great question. You know what? 6 months ago, it was obvious. It's the Rockets. I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to own a restaurant chain with 300-400 restaurants right now or a casino. I actually think the basketball franchise might be the best one going forward.
But to me, that's a $2 billion cash infusion. I mean, Houston's a top 5 market in the country.
Oh, no, I know.
You're going to get $2 billion if you sell that team. It'll prop up the rest of your business. But also, Mark, here's the other thing. We're talking about when are people going to go back to his casino and when are people going to fill up his restaurants? When are people going to go see his basketball team play again?
I don't know. I know I can eat at the patio of his restaurant and I can go to his casino in Vegas. I can't go to Orlando and watch a basketball game. I can go to Disney, but I can't watch a basketball game.
I mean, you're not going to be able to see the Rockets play the rest of this year. And if we don't have a virus, and the likelihood is we're not going to.
A vaccine, you mean?
That's what I mean. I'm sorry, because we'll have a virus. We won't have a vaccine. My bad. But if we don't have a vaccine by the start of the next NBA and NHL season, which we are not going to have.
No, we're not.
I mean, that is not happening. It's never happened in the history of Western civilization before that a vaccine for a pandemic has come about this quickly. Therefore, are we going to have people in the stands?
I sure as hell hope so. I
remember.
I don't want to get into the Corona thing, but I hope we're not waiting for a vaccine to start putting people in stands.
The reason I bring that up is that there are a lot of these owners. Okay, what's the old adage? We all live to whatever it is we make. So if you're making $40,000 a year, you live to $40,000 a year.
Live to your means.
But if you're a billionaire, there's a good chance you live a lifestyle of a billionaire. And you take out loans and run your business accordingly. How many of the 123 franchises, Mark, are going to be sold in major sports?
Less than 5. I think you'll see 20 have added ownership. I mean, the Steelers just brought in $140 million for someone to have less than 5% of the team. I think you'll see a decent amount of that, David.
Okay. And granted, we would all try to hold on to these vanity plays. I mean, let's face it. What is owning a major pro sports team? It's a huge vanity thing.
It's a convertible Porsche, David.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, it is. It's just a $2 to $4 billion one. And so they're going to try to hold on to these things, but a lot of their businesses are not doing well, and they are leveraged. And it will just be worth following. Will the Rockets owner only have to break up his team? Or will he actually have to sell his team, and he is one of a handful of major pro sports owners who's going to have to sell because of all this? I say it'll be more than 5 when all is said and done.
Okay.
I think it'll take 15 months. I think by the fall of 2021 will be when all this shakes out and what have you. I think it'll be 2 handfuls instead of 1 handful.
Okay, so between 5 and 10 is what you're saying.
Yes.
And that's,
you're right.
That could
be
right,
though. But there's going to be 20 plus that are seeking cash infusions.
I mean, Ross does it every other week anyhow.
Right. Miller and Moulton. Today was the day when. Coming up next, Cole Kubelik in about 45 minutes here on Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Drive home with the Doug Gottlieb Show.
Bruce Arians had an interview, and he gave his thoughts on how he would handle Tua Tagovailoa if he was the coach in Miami.
If he's healthy, I'm playing.
The Miami Dolphins have been waiting since the 90s, early 90s, to find their next Dan Marino. If you have to sacrifice half or a full season, is it that big a deal? Plus, it's not like Ryan Fitzpatrick is terrible.
Doug Gottlieb, afternoons at 3 on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
It's Fred Kobe with my Kobe Cooling tip of the day. Kobe Cooling is looking for experienced installers. We're hiring right now for experienced install crews, full-time work with top pay, top benefits, a 401k plan with matching monies, paid vacation, and plenty of work. As the oldest family in this business in the area, we're busy and we need your help. So if you're an experienced air conditioning installer, please apply in person at 4697 Elevation Way in Fort Myers. We're social distancing, so when you get there, call the number on the door and someone will come out and help you. You can also email me at fredkobe@aol.com. That's FREDKOBIE@AOL.com. Come join the best team in Southwest Florida, Kobe Cooling. Kobe, the most trusted name in this business since 1949.
At Wink News, we've invested millions in the technology that shows you approaching storms. First, fast, and local.
And during hurricane season, we know the weather is what you're watching for.
We've got tools no other station has to show you what you need to know to keep your family safe.
At Wink Weather, our mission comes down to one thing.
Your peace of mind.
The best equipped, most experienced weather team. Trust Wink News, the weather authority.
Let's face it. These are stressful times. New routines, the constant bombardment of bad news, and trying to keep you and your family safe all the time. It's Frank for Center for Men's Health. During these stressful times, your mood is so critical, and nothing's more important to a guy's mood than testosterone. The single greatest issue for guys with low T is mood, and the single greatest change for men that get low T care is a greatly improved mood. Many are grumpy when they start, and most can't believe how much their mood improves once they get treated. And everything improves once your mood improves. Feel the difference C4MH.com can make in your life. I've been a patient of C4MH.com for a couple of years, and recently I've lost 20 pounds because now I have the energy to work out from home. And that'll put you in a good mood too. C4MH.com's Express Treatment Plan is convenient, affordable, and above all, safe. And with locations all up and down West Florida, there's one near you right now. Find out more. Go to C4MH.com.
Dial star 2020. Friends, I care.
Well, we're all trying to wash our hands 10, maybe 50, 100 times a day now. So when you touch your contact lenses in the morning, are you also thinking about, well, all the germs you could potentially be placing in your eyes? No one wants to think about that, so it might be a great time to consider LASIK. France Eye Care offering $1,000 off bilateral LASIK, a savings that makes the procedure much more affordable. Dr. Jonathan France and his expert team of surgeons want to help you see your future in 2020 by providing you with better vision and a better quality of life. But what if you've been told you're not a candidate for LASIK? Call France Eye Care anyway, because there are other procedures available that will help you see clearly without the use of glasses or contact lenses. Call now, schedule your free consultation, take advantage of $1,000 off bilateral LASIK special. Financing available.
France Eye Care.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Dan Martineau here, owner of D.R. Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida. I've been repairing and replacing roofs for 27 years. We operate with integrity, knowledge, and service. Google DRM Roofing or call 239-332-1441.
License number CCC 1326954.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
When we talk the talk,
This is what we talk about.
He's talking about right and wrong.
we back it up.
Talk about what you know.
We're Fox Sports Radio. And when we talk the talk,
A lot of sports stuff to talk about.
we back it up
Good sports talk radio.
on Fox Sports Radio.
Here we go.
Now back to Miller and Moulton. No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
10 minutes before 8 o'clock, Miller and Moulton, thanks for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. You can always chime into the show via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line 479-5551, 479-5551. It's a different phone number that you need to call. Just leave us a message, and we'll give you some free publicity. We're trying to help out all the businesses that are getting back on their feet, or at least trying to. Let us know who you are, where you are, and that you're back open. Leave your message at 479-5577, 479-5577. That's where you leave your message, and we'll get the word out for you.
Time now for
Miller and Moulton's Today Was the Day When, giving you the history of today's date so you're a beacon of useless knowledge around the office.
Useless, but a lot of fun to talk about.
This is Today Was the Day When, Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
We begin in 1812 because today the War of 1812 began. That's how it's got its name, you know.
Well, listen, straightforward and to the point. I mean, when
Fight
you were,
Island. I mean, that's been...
right. When you were learning history, didn't you say, hey, thanks, War of 1812, World War I, World War II. Thanks, guys.
Right.
I appreciate that.
Right. 1815, the Battle of Waterloo, just as we're throwing some battles out there. 1892, this is mostly for David because I know we can have a cashew. But, David, today in 1892, macadamia nuts were first planted in Hawaii. I believe that is a nut that is also good for you. I would like you to check in because a macadamia nut is flippin' delicious.
It's expensive, though.
I know, but allowed on most diets. A lot of good health in that. So just wanted to help you out there as I could.
I'll look into it.
1898, the U.S. Opens men's golf at the Myopia Hunt Club. Fred Hurd easily wins by 7. It was the first 72-hole U.S. Open. 1911, the Tigers trailed 13-1, come back to win 16-15 for the biggest comeback in Major League Baseball history. We go all the way to 1960 when Arnie had his comeback. At Cherry Hills, erases a 7-stroke final round deficit to win the Open 2 ahead of Jack.
He drove the first green and made birdie and went from there. And golf payback, he had a 7-shot lead on Casper 6 years later at the Open, and Billy ended up beating him in a playoff.
And 1 year after that, 1967 at Baltusrol, Jack shoots 65 on Sunday for a new tournament record of 275. He would beat Arnold Palmer by 4. That same day was the closing day of the Monterey International Pop Festival, the first major U.S. appearances of Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, The Who, and Otis Redding. I'm going to say that again. First U.S. appearances of Hendrix, Joplin, The Who, and Otis Redding.
Probably cost you, what, about $4 to $6
Tops.
to get into that thing?
Tops. 1972, Jack gets his third Open, 3 ahead of Bruce Crampton at Pebble. 1975, Fred Lynn has 10 RBI in a single game. They beat the Tigers 15-1, and Freddie Lynn had 10 RBI in that game.
Jim Rice and Fred Lynn in 1975 as rookies. You know, if Rice doesn't get, there are a lot of Red Sox fans, I believe, if Rice doesn't get hurt, they win that World Series. I think he got hit by a pitch, broke his hand right around Labor Day, didn't play the final 2 months of the year.
1976, Bowie Kuhn, the commissioner, voids the A's sales totaling $35 million of Joe Rudy, Raleigh Fingers to the Red Sox and Vita Blue to the Yankees. That was the free-for-all sale going on in Oakland.
See, that's when we had a commissioner. That's when somebody operated in the, quote, best interests of baseball, in which he said to Charlie Finley, you just can't sell these guys like they're property. I mean, for goodness sakes, you're tearing your franchise down. I mean, think about it, 71 through 75.
It was the best franchise in baseball. They might have won throughout the whole decade if he keeps this team together. I mean, the number of stars, Sal Bando and Joe Rudy, Raleigh Fingers, Vita Blue. I mean, this team was loaded.
Yeah, Reggie Jackson, Gene Tennis. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Campy Campaneris throwing bats at people.
That's all he's remembered for.
1977, Reggie and Billy got into. He was a really good player. Reggie and Billy got into it in the dugout. That was great because we'd see it on TV.
It
1978.
was the game of the week. That's why it was such a big deal. It was a Saturday afternoon at Fenway. We all saw it.
Andy North at Cherry Hills beats Dave Stockton and J.C. Sneed for his first of 2 titles. 84, Fuzzy beats down Greg Norman like a stray dog, man. After Norman shoots that round on Sunday, Fuzzy destroys him on Monday, wins by 8 at Winged Foot.
I think Fuzzy birdied the second hole and Norman made double bogey, and it was basically over a half hour in. Mark, I was at the final round at Winged Foot in 84. There's a picture in Sport Magazine. Norman makes about a 30-footer for par on 18. Okay, and people forget that. And that's when Fuzzy waved the towel, and, did Fuzzy think that was for birdie to take the lead or not? Huge roar. And there is actually a picture of me in a red shirt with my big fro. I was the closest spectator to Norman when he made that putt.
We talk about Freddie Couples should have won more. It's impossible.
No doubt.
It's impossible to think how many more Norman should have won.
It's unbelievable.
89, Curtis Strange at Oak Hill. Goes back-to-back, first time since Hogan did it in 50 and 51. 1995, Corey Pavin wins his only major at Shinnecock. 2 ahead of who? Greg Norman.
Corey Forwood on 18, Johnny Miller, and I think it was Johnny's first U.S. Open. I think 95 was NBC's first U.S. Open, and it's when Johnny distinguished himself, as he said after Pavin hit that shot, the shot of his life.
2000, 20 years ago today,
1 minute.
Tiger set the world on fire. At the 100th U.S. Open at Pebble, he wins by 15.
12 under. Els and Jimenez, I think, at +3.
Yep, you are correct. The next year at Southern Hills, Retief Goosen would win his first of 2. The Fast and the Furious also came out today in 2001. Jeff Ogilvy, his only title, beating who else? Phil Mickelson at Winged Foot. Choke job by Phil. 2017, Brooks Koepka wins by 4 at Erin Hills. If you were born today, you share your birthday with George Mikan, born today in 1924. Lou Brock, born today in 1939. Paul McCartney in 1942. And Bruce Smith of the Bills in 63. Jeff Saturday, the lineman from the Colts in 75. And country singer Blake Shelton, born today in 1976. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening to Fox Sports Radio, where we stream at twitch.tv. Did Sport Magazine have a centerfold, or was that just for their one chick issue? Did they have a centerfold every week? It's a great question, Hops. Didn't Sport Magazine have like a centerfold picture? And you're not just talking women, right? It was like an athlete, like almost like a poster. I remember Sport put out their cheerleader magazine to counter the SI swimsuit issue, and it was delightful.
You can drive payment-free for 3 months or interest-free for 6 years and worry-free.
Inside Sports tried to compete in Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue.
Oh, it's Inside Sports?
Well, now you're right. Sport went with the cheerleaders, but Inside Sports actually tried to just do their own swimsuit issue.
Sunday. Call 239-481-2600. GallianaCars.com. 42 month lease, 10,000 miles per year, $19.99 to its signing plus tax, tag title, dealer, and
But yeah, my grandfather took me to Winged Foot, final round in 84.
This message is
Nicholas and
sponsored by the
Trevino
Florida
played
A&M
together in the
University
final
Medical
round.
Marijuana Education and Research Initiative, the Florida Association of Broadcasters.
I think it was the last time they played together in a major.
Where I'm from, marijuana is legal. Can I use it in Florida? Nah, it's illegal here, man. But I have PTSD. Should I at least try to get medical marijuana?
Who wrote the article about Kaepernick, the guy from the league? What's his name, David?
I talked to my doctor about qualifying conditions.
Joe Lockhart.
Even right for you. Thanks. I'll talk to my
The
doctor.
CNN article?
Yep.
For future leaders we can believe
Joe
in.
Lockhart?
Look
I thought it was
no
Joe
further
Lockhart.
than the
Yeah.
high school student athletes right here in Florida. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It includes learning to listen, accepting responsibility, being a good role model, and it's about respect. The result, it transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. This message presented by the Florida High School Athletic Association and the Florida Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Hoops in the hallways, battling in the break room, and target practice in the urinals. WFSX AM from the Rock to downtown Fort Myers. We are Fox Sports.
I asked a high school football coach locally yesterday. I go, so, what's going on with the season? He said, we have no idea.
Yeah. With them. We don't know what's going on with school.
I was just going to ask. They haven't announced whether
not
or not
a damn thing. I'm doing this because we're doing a summer program, not because Maddie's dumb, but they offered. So she does 15 minutes of math and reading Monday through Thursday. Just, to us, it was like, hey, great way to keep doing something for the summer. And, I get emails from the school every day. They don't have a clue. They don't have an effing clue. I've got our buddy who's the attorney for the Lee County School Board. She doesn't have a clue. Like I talked to my one friend who was over, who's a Collier County teacher. She just looked at me and she goes, Governor DeSantis is still the governor, right? I said, yeah. She goes, then we're going to be in school.
Well, yeah.
There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
How the heck are you?
Yep, that's it. Miller.
Really upset that my daughter will not read one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish on Twitch because I needed content. That's what we've come to.
And Moulton.
Well, we need to explain to her the pilot program, and we need 25 hours of programming a week. So you need to deliver your 12 minutes a day, 5 times a week, because that's an hour, honey.
Southwest Florida's Fox
What county
Sports
is that,
Radio.
Zed?
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Oh, I like
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
I like it.
Chopper's at Zed's. Where's
The
Zed?
best
Zed's
local
dead.
sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Couple minutes past 8 o'clock on this Thursday morning. It is the 18th of June, or it's March 110th, whichever it is that you prefer. Miller and Moulton, thanks for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming this and every show on the station, foxsportsfm.com, broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and twitch.tv channels. You can always chime into the show via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line, which is 479-5551, 479-5551. A reminder, if you ever miss any part of the show, every hour is its own podcast. Or as we like to say, we podcast this sucker. So there are 3 Connecticut casts a day that you can chime into. Hour 1, hour 2, hour 3, just like that. Boom. Thanks to the good folks at Connecticut, whose June specials are every bit as good as their May specials. Check them out, 908-2300 for the best damn water that Miller and Moulton have ever had.
When you are listening, and I'm speaking just to our podcast listeners right now, not that the rest of you can't listen, but I want our podcast listeners to know, our Connecticut cast listeners to know, that our text number is 479-5551. If at any point during this Connecticut cast something hits you, whatever time it is, feel free to text us. Because I enjoyed, David had a rant yesterday. His first post-surgery rant.
Oh, Tuesday.
2 days ago, Tuesday. During the 7 o'clock hour. Glorious. Yes. And so glorious that we took baseball off for most of Wednesday's show because I was afraid.
Right.
But what's great was on Wednesday at 2:45, I get a text from someone talking about your out-of-body experience. And that, because I come up to the office 2-3 times a day having to do something. Send an email out, do whatever. And if I see the flashing app here that says there's a text, I look. And I love the comments. Midday, 8 p.m. at night, 2:30 in the morning for the third shift guy that's working in a hospital that's listening to when he can. It just cracks me up. So keep them coming.
Yes, around 7:20 on Tuesday, in case you missed it. But yeah, it was an old school rant.
It really was.
It was, okay. In fact, it told me that post-surgery I'm doing okay. Because that rant would have put me back in the hospital 2-3 weeks ago.
David, you couldn't have, there is no way you could have gotten through a third of that rant in our first 2 weeks back. You were weaker. And I can still see, I kind of have you figured out when you're feeling really good, when you're feeling just normal, and when you start getting in a little pain. And the little pain has been far less frequent than it was in the first 2 weeks. But David, there's no way. You'd have keeled over during that rant.
Yeah, I think the stitches would have come out, all right, in the first couple of weeks if I had had that rant. late May, early June. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, this is bothering me. This is. And I'm on the player side. You know I am. I blame Manfred and the owners. All right, we do need to stop calling him a commissioner. He is not a commissioner.
No, he's a puppet.
Yes. He's an extension of the owners. A commissioner is somebody who has the power. I mean, Roger Goodell is a commissioner.
Think about it. The question you asked Seth yesterday. Seth Everett was on our show. He's on every Wednesday. And whether or not you like what Roger Goodell did last week in regards to Black Lives Matter and changing some ways the NFL has spoke about that, he made a very strong stance about something that was a 180 from how the league had spoke, I don't know, forever.
Right.
Much so that after he said it, there is not one owner that has backed the commissioner in what he said.
Not one.
Certainly not publicly.
No, not one.
But he's a commissioner. And he listened to his players and basically told two owners, here's what we're doing. Don't know what to tell you. Here's my statement. And we all know that the two owners more than likely were Robert Kraft and Jerry Jones. Correct. There's a chance that the Rooneys and a few others may have gotten word because it was leaked out that all of the owners were not told before he did that. A handful of owners were told. He did it contrary to what all of the owners would have wanted him to do because none of the owners have made a statement. They've issued their blanket Black Lives Matters statement that they put on company letterhead, but none of them have stood in front of a microphone.
No, not every owner has done that either. Don't kid yourself. Not every owner has done that. And it will be interesting going forward because obviously, as Kyler Murray announced yesterday, hey, I'm kneeling and a whole lot of players are going to be kneeling.
Well, J.J. Watt may be kneeling, folks.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, J.J. Watt, very interesting that there was a picture of J.J. Watt with a flag that during a game, coming out, running with the flag or something, and somebody put that picture up and tweeted at him, at J.J., hey, J.J. Watt with his Twitter handle surely won't be kneeling. And J.J. Watt found it and said, yeah, don't speak for me. Don't speak for me as to what I'm going to do. So, but David's point is the commissioner made a very strong statement against really what we think his owners would have wanted him to do.
Yes, very much so. Come on now. I mean, first off, 2/3 of those owners gave money to Trump. They are Republican. And the stance they took 4 years ago, that's what they believe. I mean, Jerry Jones tried to go along with it 4 years ago. He did it for a game. He couldn't live with himself. Now, let's cut right to the chase. He couldn't live with himself. He did it for that Monday Night Football game. He came down in his suit. He walked arm in arm with his players. They took a knee on the field. He couldn't live with himself afterwards. 48 hours later, he walks into the locker room, tells the team, anybody kneels for the anthem again, you won't be a Dallas Cowboy. That's how Jerry Jones really feels about it. So now what's going to happen going forward? When, by the way, his star quarterback, who he may or may not have a deal with, because that's coming up in a little less than 4 weeks also. July 15th, the magic date for that, as to whether or not to get him signed long-term or Dak's going to have to play on the franchise tag this year. And remember, you only get two. All right, so that'll be one, which means they only get to tag him one more time. And which all of a sudden Dak and the Cowboys could be going down the Kirk Cousins Redskins path. But what happens when Jera's franchise quarterback takes a knee? Because he's gonna. Because he's going to. And we know how the owner feels because he told us.
And bringing this back to baseball where we started, the commissioner took a stance that is unpopular, incredibly unpopular, with, we believe, 24 minimum of his 32 owners. Rob Manfred hasn't said a damn thing other than what the owners have told him to do. And this kind of started in our Today Was a Day win because it was today in the 70s when Bowie Kuhn told Charlie Finley of the A's that you're not selling your team off.
Right.
No.
They're not parts. You can't do it, not just for cash. You want to make a baseball trade? You want to get prospects? You want to rebuild your team? You can't afford them, because also 76 was when we first started to experience free agency. And Charlie's like, well, I can't afford these guys. And because Mark.
And Charlie had blown a bunch of money in a lot of other ways. Charlie was a risk taker and a gambler, and some things weren't working, and he needed cash.
Yes. And so he broke up what was
a dynasty.
Yeah.
A flippin' dynasty.
I mean, they won 5 straight division titles and 3 straight World Series in 72, 73, and 74. And 71 through 75, they were in the playoffs all 5 years. And he just started selling off really good to great players. And it's laughable now, by the way, when you see the salaries that Reggie and Joe Rudy got on the open market. I mean, Reggie on the open market, he plays a year in Baltimore, which most people forget. Reggie didn't go straight from the A's to the Yankees. Reggie spent 76 in Baltimore.
Right, he had the Bobby Ewing year in Baltimore.
Right, which everyone forgets. All right, and then he signs with the Yankees. And I believe, Mark, and you could look it up, I mean, this is George Steinbrenner throwing his wallet around. And he signed Reggie Jackson to a 5-year, $3 million deal, is what I thought it was. I thought Reggie got
3.5, but you're...
Oh, okay, so he got $700,000 a year.
Yep.
All right. So Reggie got $700,000 a year for 5 years. And the sport went bonkers that Steinbrenner paid him that kind of money. Nobody could compete with that.
In fact, Bob Nightingale wrote an article back in 2016. The headline of the article is "The Day MLB Changed Forever When Reggie Jackson Struck It Rich."
Rich. Yep.
5 years,
3.5.
3.5.
Now, he did get his own candy bar out of the deal.
Apparently, it was done at a, by the way, it was done at a Hyatt hotel at O'Hare Airport. Agreed to a deal on a cocktail napkin. I just want to point this out because David and I many times said we could write it down on a bar nap. Because they were. Robert Holman, our boss over at the other place, would bring back contracts on bar naps.
Yes, he would.
And attach them to the contract. He would write the contract on our 3-paper, pink, yellow, white sheet of paper there and staple a damn bar nap to it.
Right.
That's not a joke.
No.
Apparently, Steinbrenner offered to include a Rolls Royce at anywhere between the car cost $63,000 that he got Reggie. That's $11,500 more than the average player's salary at that time.
So think about that. The average player's salary is $52,000. George is paying Reggie $700,000.
Reggie tells Nightingale in 76, "It's hard to believe the money that's out there now. When I signed, if you got $1 million, it would change your life. You'd pay off your house, your life insurance, take care of your parents, really do what you wanted forever."
Yankees had got swept in the World Series in 76 by the Big Red Machine. They bring Reggie in, and Reggie self-proclaims, "I'm the straw that stirs the drink." And boy, did that go over well with Munson, Nettles, and company. And he wasn't liked on that team until he hit those 3 homers on 3 pitches in Game 6 of the World Series, and all of a sudden he was okay. Then he got the candy bar. Anybody ever have a Reggie bar? All right.
I don't recall ever having a Reggie bar.
Reggie got his own candy bar.
Yeah. Was it a Reggie bar or was it an O Reggie bar?
No, it was a Reggie bar.
That was the O Henry. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, the Reggie bar.
And it was a big, round, it looked like a huge cookie, all right, in an orange wrapper. And it was a ton of peanuts. It was milk and caramel, it was chocolate and caramel and peanuts, but a ton of peanuts. And Mark, I'm 11, 12 years old. What candy bar wouldn't I eat? I mean.
Now that I see it, I did not like peanuts much as a kid. Like, I love nuts now, but I preferred a Milky Way to a Snickers growing up.
Totally. Absolutely. I just want the chocolate.
Yeah, I mean, I preferred a Three Musketeers to a Snickers back then.
Yes.
Give me some nougat.
Right. I don't need peanuts in my candy bars. And the Reggie bar was loaded with peanuts.
I'm looking at it now. I do remember. Now that I see it, I remember it. It isn't. To say it looks like a cookie is really a disservice to cookie. Because it looks more like something that crusted out in the backyard that the dog did.
Okay. All right.
Look at you.
I know.
I didn't use anything. There was nothing, vulgar that I said there, David.
No. I know that. It's just a visual. Just a visual. It's still early in the AM. That's all. It's a hell of a visual. But you're right. You're right. It had the texture of it. All right. It looked like it. All right. And
because it was that big and round, you couldn't eat it like a candy bar. You keep the wrapper on to prevent chocolate from getting on your hands, or eat it fast and not get. I mean, you were going to end up looking. You had chocolate all over your hand from a Reggie bar. That's not the point.
No, it was the candy bar. Actually, you couldn't eat fast because of all the peanuts.
Yes,
you actually had to take your time, and so that's another reason why it was so messy.
It's like a Charleston chew. What the hell's the point of that thing? I'm chewing all day. I want to eat the damn thing.
Exactly. It's kind of like some of those board games we played as a kid. Hey, at some point, do we get to win this thing, or we just play?
Where's my risk game?
Oh, I know. Please. I think we all have a risk game that's still going on from 1984 somewhere.
We used to play Risk on the bus when I worked for the National Knights hockey team. Do you know why? We had 10-hour bus rides.
Which may not have been enough time.
Not always.
Actually.
Not always. You could get one game in, but never the second.
No way. Might as well take a nap. 479-5551, 479-5551, the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. But in all seriousness, I asked Seth yesterday, I said, do you think Manfred has it in him? Could he pull a Goodell? Could he strike a deal with Tony Clark in which he comes back and the owners just yell at him? What are you doing? We didn't tell you to go 72 games. We said not a game more than 60. And he said, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. All right. They weren't going to say yes to 60, which meant I was going to have to implement a 48 to 54 game season. And then they were going to file a grievance and they were going to win. And this was going to cost you an extra $600 million 5 years down the road. And not only that, we now enter the next CBA negotiations at each other's throat. All right. Don't know what to tell you. You're being short-term foolish here. You just are. You guys are going to have to bite the bullet a little bit, take a few more losses this year than you want to take, and trust me, we will find a way to make this money back up. And I told Tony Clark that. Tony, you do know the owners are going to have to get the 12, 14, 16 extra games worth of revenue that we're giving you. They're going to want that money back somehow, some way. You're going to have to throw us a bone down the road. Okay? If you think about these negotiations, Tony, if I give you full prorated and close to half a season, all right, I'm going to go back and get physically beaten about the head and chest. All right? They're going to want to get a new commissioner. Now, they're not going to. I'm betting on that fact, Tony. I'm betting on the fact they're not going to fire me and bring in somebody else, but they're going to want to for a few weeks. I can tell you that. But ultimately, they gave me the job because I'm a negotiator. I mean, that's why Manfred got the job. Manfred was the guy negotiating collective bargaining agreements for 20 years under Bud Selig. It's why they gave him the job and not Bud's right-hand man. And so I just wondered, could Manfred step up and be a commissioner here like Goodell did and then take the heat behind the scenes? That's what you pay me the big bucks for. You can blankety blank me all you want. But I'm telling you, I did what's in your best interest. You just don't see it.
And Seth says no way. Seth said no way. No way whatsoever. For the baseball fan out there, I hope Seth is wrong. And I am pleasantly surprised today, David, in that I thought the done watching period, part of our poll question, would be far greater in numbers than it is. Our poll question's pretty simple. The designated hitter is here to stay. No matter what happens in the 2020 baseball season, the one thing that I think we can assure you of is that you will never see a pitcher bat again in the game of baseball.
There's one chance, and I don't just mean that a team runs out of players and they have to grab a pitcher, but if the players and owners don't come to a deal, like the deal that Manfred proposed is a DH for this year and next year, well, then we enter a new CBA and the DH will be here to stay. But if they can't strike a deal, Mark, then Manfred can only implement a 2020 season. And technically, we would see the old rules for 2021. So if they can strike a deal, we've seen our last pitcher hit.
And even if we don't strike a deal, 2021 will be the last year that we ever see a pitcher hit. Because the new CBA will have a universal designated hitter, which leads us to the question, are you for or against the universal DH in baseball? Nearly 57% are for it, David. I'm surprised the number is that high. I thought this vote was going to kind of be in thirds. I mean, I thought, for it might win at 40%, but I did not think any one of these three would get the majority. In fact, I thought if anyone got the majority, it would be the done watching period. But that is bringing up the rear with 18.5% against it, right around 25%. Go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton. It will be up until our show begins tomorrow morning.
Something that I do think is important for both of us to realize, the time of the year that it is. This is arguably when baseball is most popular. Like there was a survey done recently in early June, a national survey done asking of all the sports, and they even included football in it. Of all the sports not being played right now, which one do you miss the most? Baseball won it.
Because June.
Because it's June. Baseball won it. So I do think that that's why we may get more people who right now they've got baseball on their mind. They're really wishing they could go home and a game would be on, etc. But Miller and Moulton. We're okay with universal DH for the record. Mark and I, even though Mark roots for an American League team and I root for a National League team, we have both always preferred the National League style of play. But we both came to the realization in the last 10 years that we were going to end up getting to this point in time with a universal DH, so we might as well just embrace it.
And it had as much for me to do with the fact that the pitcher after he's 18 years old doesn't hit anymore.
Right.
Doesn't hit in college.
Nope. Now,
he may when he's like, some pitchers will play position, but that doesn't happen too much anymore either. I mean, there used to be a time that the pitcher played a little position ball. That's pretty infrequent now in college ball, isn't it?
Right. Like FGCU just landed a prized recruit, and I think for his freshman year, he'll pitch a little and he might play the outfield a little. But, yeah, at some point he's going to be the Friday starter in theory.
Right. I mean, I just watched the Long Gone Summer. I mean, Mark McGwire went to USC as a pitcher and became a hitter. And they're like, we're going to put you at first base because we think you're better. That's not what happens typically. Not even then. You pitch. So I do think that you're going to have, you don't have guys hitting at all anymore. Not in college, not in the minors. And then all of a sudden a guy spends 8 years getting ready to get to the major leagues. And now you're pitching for the New York Mets and batting ninth. It makes zero sense.
Now, some pitchers are going to hate it because they're actually pretty good hitters. Scherzer's, I think, a pretty good hitter. Bumgarner's a terrific hitter.
He may still hit. He'll pinch hit.
Right. DeGrom's not a bad hitter because he played shortstop in college at Stetson besides pitching. But, yeah, but most pitchers will be like, thank God. Last thing I need to worry about. And it will keep certain players in the game longer. I mean, and I don't just mean in the 9-inning game longer. I mean, it will keep them in the sport longer. Because now your favorite National League team will be able to take the older player or the guy who can't really field the position and still be able to keep him on the team. Miller and Moulton. So that's our poll question. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Your thoughts on the universal DH, which is likely now here to stay. In favor of it, against it, or, got to be honest, I'm not a baseball fan anymore. Those are our three options. Cole Kubelik. talk a little college football. He's part of the ESPN family. A few things going on here lately. Also, his thoughts about what's going to happen in a season that, not that far away from kicking off, in theory. Miller and Moulton, thanks for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Text of the week. Can't read it on air.
Amazing comebacks.
So David has a problem with your visual of the Reggie bar at 8:20 in the a.m. How does he think the visual of him telling the MLB to shove it up their ass at 7:20 a.m. Tuesday sounds?
You make a dadgum good point.
I know, funny. That funny.
That funny.
First, fast, and local.
And during hurricane season, we know the weather is what you're watching for.
We've got tools no other station has to show you what you need to know to keep your family safe.
At Wink Weather, our mission comes down to one thing.
Your peace of mind.
The best equipped, most experienced weather team. Trust Wink News, the weather authority.
Looking for a frameless shower door? My Shower Door has just opened their 8th Florida showroom, and it's conveniently located in Cape Coral. With more than 75,000 frameless shower doors installed, no one has more experience and 5-star reviews than My Shower Door. We've been named #1 by readers of the News Press and Naples News for 17 consecutive years and have just been named as Lee County's Manufacturer of the Year. Want to see more? Go to myshowerdor.com.
It's Fred Kobe with your Kobe Cooling Tip of the Day. I'd like to tell you that I'm the best AC mechanic in my company, but I'd be lying to you. I think my NATE certified mechanic team hides my tools from me so I don't hurt myself. You see, I'm the old guy, and I've been doing this work since I was a kid with my dad. Our younger staff are really the best mechanics in this business, and they've been through years of training and years of testing, with continuing education to keep up to date on the latest and greatest things in the air conditioning world. All companies brag about their experience, and we certainly have that, but we're most proud of our team being on the cutting edge and the leaders in technology and application of the modern air conditioning equipment. That's why we've been voted best air conditioning company in Southwest Florida year after year in the News Press polls. It's not me, it's the best team of NATE certified mechanics ever assembled. Call 239-482-1542 and experience the best. License CACO 57313.
Attention, Southwest Florida. Are you ready for this? Only Naples Nissan will give you $8,000 over Kelley Blue Book value for your trade-in. Hundreds of new SUV models to choose from, all backed by our exclusive unlimited mile lifetime warranty. Pick out your favorite at naplesnissan.com. Then come see us on Pine Ridge Road to find out the KBB.com current market value for your trade-in. And we'll give you $8,000 more so you can drive that brand new Nissan home today.
Hello.
Good morning. Mark Miller and David Moulton here in Southwest Florida. How are you this morning, Cole?
Hey, doing great, guys. How are you?
We're very well. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. David will go first. I'm Mark. I'll go second. We're going on in about 45 seconds, I believe.
Okay, cool.
This message is sponsored by the Florida A&M.
Okay, maybe a minute and 10 seconds. I might have jumped the gun. Too many things going on at once when you got to produce and do a show at the same time with these home studios, Cole.
Hey, I trust me. I'm doing mine from home every day too, so I get it.
Yeah, we're set up with David in one spot, me in another. I can't have the studio call guest, or it just echoes all over the place. So, got to improvise.
Yeah, I'm doing 3 people in 3 places. So.
Twitter. Follow Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio on Twitter. Yeah. Follow us at Fox Sports SWFL. Now back to Miller and Moulton.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
As we approach 8:30 on this Thursday morning. Thanks so much for being with us. We're Miller and Moulton on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. You may know them from ESPN and the SEC Network, but if you ever get a chance listen to his terrific radio show, Three Man Front, on 94.5 FM in Birmingham. He is Cole Kubelik. Follow him on Twitter at Cole Kubelik. And Cole, it's been a while since we've talked, and during that time, well, Charlie was born. He's 2 months old. Congratulations. The little guy sleeping for you?
Well, that brings a whole new topic with what's happening in the Kubelik family. His name's Charles Locke, and we're calling him Locke. So he is with my wife, and they are about an hour and a half north of me right now. My wife needed ankle surgery a week ago. Well, it was a week ago yesterday. And she had that done at Andrews Sports Medicine here in Birmingham. Dr. Walzer did a great job. And so she and our 1-month-old went to stay with our in-laws, and I am at home with our 5-year-old and 3-year-old, managing them during the week for the next month. So the baby is sleeping a little bit. From what I'm told, I wouldn't know. I'm getting decent sleep, but also having to deal with the 3-year-old and the 5-year-old by myself every day. So, 2020 just continues to be a complete expletive show in every way, shape, form, and fashion. So we're just going to try to go with it.
Cole, it sounds like you have your hands full, but as my wife goes to work every day and I handle our 6-year-old, I am very curious, Cole, does the 3 or 5-year-old run your show more? Because there's no way you're running the show. I know that with only one around here. Who's running the show?
5-year-old's a girl, 3-year-old's a boy, so it's absolutely the 5-year-old.
Yep.
All she has to say is daddy, and she pretty much gets it. That's about the way it works in this house. And she has obviously figured out how to manipulate that, and at 5 years old, that's very scary.
All right, well, speaking of manipulation, how is Mike Gundy going to manipulate his situation right now? Because this has gone from bad to it's okay to possibly worse in the span of, 36 hours. Is Mike Gundy in any kind of trouble, in your estimation, of losing his job with the next set of things that have come out of things he said possibly 30 years ago?
I think he is. I'm not saying that I believe that he should be, but I think he is for a couple of reasons. Number one, just based on where we are in our society today, and in some of the things that people are making decisions on, and some of the reasons that people are making decisions. And you guys know, like I do, in college football, if the power brokers get behind something and they're willing to put up the money to be able to force something to happen, it can happen in a hurry. Now, I don't know, and I don't believe that contingent is ready to make that move just yet. But a lot of this will still be determined by what his team thinks of him, maybe people above him, and the conversations that they have with players on that football team. And I think that's really where the big disconnect comes, in my opinion, in all of this, is that it's not really about freedom of speech, and it's not really about what Mike Gundy thinks or likes or does. It's about what his team thinks of what he likes, says, or does. And if that becomes problematic, and his best player on his team and then 10, 15 other players on that team behind him decide not to play or don't want to play or don't want to do something, and that becomes a problem, that's going to force more problems in recruiting down the road. Mike Gundy has to have one thing to be a successful college football coach: good college football players. And if he does something that removes the ability to be able to continuously do that, he's not going to be a college football coach for very long. So these coaches, the days of the dictatorship are over. That's a good thing in a lot of ways. Now, there are some ways that I think that can be a negative. Not necessarily that coaches can't walk around with a dictatorship and no one can say anything and no one can talk to the press, and you have to wear certain clothes and be shaved, your face shaved a certain way, whatever. Some of those things are a little bit ridiculous, and then the way that some of the players act and respond can be a little bit ridiculous. But the days of coaches just walking around and anything I say goes, it's my way or the highway, those days are over. And the main reasons that those days are over are that, options bring leverage. Leverage brings power. Players have power. And I'm not one of these guys that you're going to see in the national media that's saying college football players have more power than ever. They could shut the whole system down if they wanted to. That's not real. Because there is a reality that a lot of guys want to play college football, and you're going to be able to find more of them. and a couple of kids saying they're going to sit out or not work out is not going to shut down college football. But those options are what's so different than what they were 10, 15 years ago. The word transfer when I played, guys, and I played 20 years ago, so it was a long time, but in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't that long ago. The word transfer was a death sentence. You were done. You didn't reappear at another Power 5 school and have a successful career and go to the NFL. You ended up at D2 or D3 somewhere, and maybe you played a little bit, and if you were lucky, you got drafted late or signed a free agent deal, and maybe you made a roster at some point in time. That even rarely happens. So I think now that players can transfer, and not only is it accepted, it's welcomed, and guys are still being recruited to do it, and you can do it the next year. Hell, you can do it in your division. I mean, it's not even. Remember, 2 or 3 years ago, it was blasphemous to think that a guy could transfer within his conference. We got guys transferring within their division now. I mean, an Alabama receiver just signed with Mississippi State and transferred. He's going to play there this year.
Georgia offensive lineman went to Tennessee.
That are there.
Sorry, Cole. A Georgia offensive lineman went to Tennessee. Which was unthinkable.
It's happening all over the place. And so, I think with those options, players now have a little bit more leverage, and that gives them some power. So I do not think that his job should be in jeopardy if he is correctly communicating now with his team, and his team has an understanding of where he stands and where they stand together. But let's be honest, guys, it's college football. And it only takes 2 or 3 power brokers to be able to go out and make a move. And if they think that move needs to be made, it's probably going to be.
He's Cole Kubelik, ESPN SEC Network, also part of the Three-Man Front, a terrific radio show on 94.5 FM in Birmingham. Follow Cole on Twitter at Cole Kubelik. We had Marvin Wilson, the Florida State defensive lineman, on earlier this week, and he said that to him, it's just important to know that the coach cares about us as more than a player, that we are a person to them. That to him, that's where the relationship has to be. It doesn't have to be more than that, but it can't just be what you talked about, the dictatorship, coach, player, you do what I say when I say it. That to him in 2020, we just need to know that the coach actually gives a damn about us. Do you think that that's basically the baseline now?
I think that's a great starting point. And I think some of the things that Marvin Wilson has said and done have been spot on. And I think the college football world needs to hear a lot of the things that he has said and he has done. I can take you back to position meetings that I had, and a position coach coming in, sitting down, one of the first meetings we had with him. And he basically said, I want you guys to know right now, I'm not your friend. I'm not your teacher. I want you to make good grades so you can graduate, but so you can be eligible. I don't care about your girlfriend. I don't care about your mommy and your daddy. I don't care about your personal life. I don't care what you do in your free time. Do what I ask you to do. Be ready to play football. And when I coach you, be ready to accept coaching. Other than that, we're good. And I think that's what that's kind of where Marvin Wilson is going, is that, that becomes more of that dictatorship that I spoke about a little bit earlier. That there's so much less of a relationship there. And listen, coaches don't always need to be players' friends, but I do believe that they need to be their leaders, and I do need to believe sometimes they need to be their father figures, and I do believe sometimes they need to be their instructors, and not just a guy who is laying down the law on a daily basis and saying my way or the highway, this or that, or you got to go. Because the problem has been for such a long time that position coaches, especially coordinators sometimes, and head coaches to an extent, they yield so much power over individuals in college football that you have to put up with a lot of garbage. The thing, it's one thing that I got frustrated about earlier this offseason was there were national reporters saying, oh, look at these, they're making them come back for these voluntary workouts, and they're forcing players to come back and be in uncomfortable situations. The thing that people lose sight of, guys, is 99.9% of college football players, you know what they want to be? College football players. No one's making them do anything. Now, do you want to go push the sled for an hour after practice? No. You want to go do inside drill for 15 minutes? Probably not. But that's what it takes to be a college football player. Same thing with working out. And guys know that the thing that college football players are the most terrified about is falling behind the next guy, which is what all these players have missed more than anything else for the last 2 or 3 months, is competition. It's not having their strength coach next to them. It's not having the equipment, which is all a big part of it. But that competition inside that facility is what drives you, fuels you. It's what you need more than anything else. So I think the relationship between coaches and players can grow from this, can be different from this. It still needs to be coach-player, but, that whole you show up, do what I say, and then get out of my face and we don't talk anymore, and I'm going to make a ton of money because you play for me, those days are over, and they should be over. But there should also be a very realistic understanding of what it takes to be a player, what it takes to be great, and sometimes that's going to mean you're going to have to accept hard coaching, you're going to have to work hard, and you're going to do things that are going to make you uncomfortable.
And there's no doubt, but there's also a respect factor in there that's part
Absolutely.
of this. And it sounds to me like, Cole, because, I'm 50, David's 54. You played 20 years ago, you're in your 40s. So, we're all a little older, but not that old. And we grew up where it was a my way or a highway world. How many coaches out there still think that way? Because it seems to me that not necessarily just the old coach, but the old school coach is in for an incredibly rude awakening. And it sounds like if they can't change, they're going to be left behind pretty quickly. Is that accurate?
I would think so, yeah. And I'll tell you something that'll probably tip you off to who is not that guy. It's the ones that are great recruiters. Because recruiting at the end of the day is a relationship business. And I've had long conversations with Jeremy Pruitt about this. And I've told him, I said, man, I don't envy your job. I know you make a ton of money, but good Lord, I can't imagine recruiting some of these kids. He's like, oh, shucks, man. It's just all it is relationships. You just got to get to know them and relate to them. And I'm just thinking that seems a lot more difficult than you make it sound. But certain individuals have a knack for it. I think, nobody would view Nick Saban in that way as one of those guys. But I think he is one of those guys. But you can do it in different ways with different personalities. Look at Jeff Collins at Georgia Tech. He's a totally different personality as far as how he does it and what he does and what he wants to be as far as generating those relationships. Look at Mac Brown at North Carolina. I mean, he's older than all of us. But he can still relate to his players. He can still develop relationships. And he can still have those players understand that he actually cares about them as human beings and not just what they're going to be due for him on the football field. I think it's all about not being tone deaf, guys. That's all it is. You can have your beliefs. You can think what you want. But just don't be tone deaf to your team. And just have an understanding that their emotions and their feelings actually matter because they are human beings. They're not just guys that are coming into your facility, putting pads on, playing games, and then going away, and you never deal with them anymore. So the guys like Gabo who want to know more about their team and want to have that personal relationship with their team, those are the ones that are going to flourish in this. And those are the ones that we're going to see sort of leading the pack in the future. But some of those dinosaurs that you mentioned, they're still out there. There are a couple of them still out there, and they're either going to change or they're not going to be college football coaches for very much longer.
Cole, quickly, what are you hearing in terms of, all 14 SEC schools have announced they're going to have kids on campus by late August with Vandy's announcement earlier this week. What are you hearing in terms of season starting on time? Will non-conference games happen as scheduled? And also, what are you hearing about fans?
I think the season will start on time. I do kind of a morning checkup with a lot of not just SEC schools, but schools in my part of the country, in our geographical footprint. And the majority of what I hear is really positive about players coming back, about players getting back to work, about the testing that's taking place. Now, is there a school or two out there that things are not going well, and that we will probably hear in the near future that things are a little bit worse than we imagined, or that we've known? Yeah, I think that's possible. That's going to take place, but that's just hopefully going to be a bump in the road as we get close to playing for a season and playing college football. Full season I think is a big question mark still, and I think that fans at full capacity is a big question mark still. I think we will have some fans either way. I don't think we're going to play in front of no fans this year, but I think full capacity is probably still a pretty big question mark. I think we start on time. I don't think we have stadiums to capacity. And I think I think if anything, we move the end of the season up and finish it as opposed to delay it and then try to finish it late. That to me just seems completely unrealistic.
Cole, it's not necessarily football, but on that note, I do know in the North, a good friend of mine's a Michigan State season ticket holder. They've already kind of laid out distancing, and there's no tailgating. I can't imagine going to an SEC football game and not tailgating, but is that going to be allowed as far as what you're hearing?
I don't know how do you manage that?
I don't know.
The only way I can imagine, and I know a lot of these stadiums and how they're set up, and most of them are on campus. You would literally have to block the streets and only allow certain people in a 2 or 3 block radius around the stadium. And then I still think you're going to get some people in the RV parks and different areas that are going to want to congregate and just be where they're normally at to tailgate, to enjoy the game, try to create their own atmosphere. It seems impossible. I know Notre Dame threw some things down about that. They were going to be careful with how they were going to tailgate, when they could tailgate, who could tailgate. So we got a long way to go, and obviously a lot of different things are going to have to be discussed as far as what they're allowed to do and how you're allowed to do them. But controlling the amount of fans and proximity of fans outside of your stadium seems like one of the more difficult tasks that we don't talk about very often.
Cole, good luck with the 3 and the 5-year-old.
Really, just the 5-year-old, Cole. The 3-year-old, that's easy.
Ago. I think the Little Mermaid we're watching. I think it sort of paused there. The stream got slowed down, so and the dog's obviously going bananas too. We just, my dog escaped from her baby gate, getting out of the laundry room where we keep them when we leave yesterday. We had to try to solve that problem. I mean, we just got we are the NCAA tournament right now. It's surviving advance. We're just trying to get to the next round.
Well, good luck surviving and advancing today. We really appreciate your time. All the best to the family.
Thanks for having me, fellas.
Cole Kubelik, ESPN, SEC Network, 94.5 FM in Birmingham, number 1 college football market in the country, number 1 college football station, arguably, in the country. And he is part of a 3-man show called 3-Man Front on 94.5 FM in Birmingham. It is terrific if you're ever, in the neighborhood and or can listen online. Check it out. Cole Kubelik. Follow him on Twitter at Cole Kubelik. Joining us here on Miller and Moulton. That's funny. 3 and a 5-year-old. It's the NCAA tournament around here. We're just trying to survive and advance.
All you got to do is run the pick and roll off the 5-year-old, because if you have a 5-year-old girl and a 3-year-old boy, we know who's running that household, right? With no wife there? Oh, Cole. Good luck, man. Good luck.
Cole Kubelik joining us here on Miller and Moulton. 13 minutes before the top of the hour. The good, the bad, and the ugly as we put this Thursday edition to bed. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
Baker Mayfield had this to say about his new philosophy moving into this season.
It's just time to work. It's time to do our thing instead of talking about it.
Yeah.
Look, right as we went on the air, I watched this commercial. David, after the show, listen to the volume of what I retweeted. You will laugh your ass
Shut
off.
up and play football.
Dan Patrick. Okay. The Dan Patrick Show. Weekdays at 9 a.m. on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Funny.
FoxSportsFM.com.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau. You can count on us for great service. You can count on us to get it done. You can count on us for a price that's fair. The quality is second to none. For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau. You should be driving a Kia from Galliana. Galliana Kia.
Trade in and trade up. Over $500,000 in trade-in assistance up for grabs at Galliana Kia in Fort Myers. 2020 Kia Forte LXS lease, 0 down, $159 per month. 2020 Kia Sorento LX lease, 0 down, $259 per month. Plus, at Galliana Kia in Fort Myers, you can drive interest-free up to 72 months and worry-free for 100,000 miles. Worried about your credit? Don't sweat it. If you've got $500 down and you make at least $500 per week, our lenders can get you approved. At Galliana Kia, 1/2 mile south of Daniels Parkway on US 41 in Fort Myers. Open every day, including Sunday. Call 239-481-2600. GallianaCars.com.
You should be driving a Kia from Galliana. Galliana Kia.
36 month lease is $10 10,000 miles per year, 0 to exciting plus tax, tag, title, dealer, and acquisition fee, 0 security deposit, $13.88 per month per thousand borrowed for 72 months, 0 APR with 0 down with lender approval.
Cathedral Roofing Innovations. Now, Hurricane Irma was a long time ago, but believe it or not, problems with tile roofs, they continue to occur as a result. Now, many homeowners are just now feeling the effects of the hidden damage that occurred to their tile roof. Now, whether it's new leaks, cracked, unsecured tiles, these roofs are living on borrowed time. Now, tile roofs, by nature of their design, are susceptible to lift and powerful storms like hurricanes. When this occurs, your tile underlayment can be compromised, but you would not realize it until possibly years later. Now, with Cathedral Roofing Innovations, you get a great roofing company to inspect your roof for any damage.
Giro, that last ugly story is phenomenal.
CathedralRoofingNaples.com. They are.
I don't know if everybody else is going to think so, but damn, that's good.
Process right away. Just go to CathedralRoofingNaples.com. CathedralRoofingNaples.com.
License number CCC 13319.
Brooks Koepka nearly smashed his driver in half on about the second hole.
Nice.
He hooks one. Someone goes, the guys, the pod that we had on yesterday, I followed their podcast. And they tweeted out, apparently Brooks cares about the RBC at the Heritage. He hits this driver, and I mean turns, and a two-hand smash to the ground.
Nice.
To which the kid we had on yesterday says, how did he not break his club with that? Vaughn Taylor, 4 under through 7 is your leader.
By the way, Butera followed our fantasy advice. He sent a tweet out saying, I'm going to play Kisner, Kuchar, and the other guy that he recommended.
Have the energy to work out from home, and that'll put you in a good mood too.
Rory 1 over through 5, Koepka 1 over through 5.
Affordable and above all safe. And with locations all up and down West
Florida,
there's
I know there was an early triple for
Go to C4MH.
Spieth. He's 2 over through 6.
Sponsored by the Florida A&M University
Dead last.
Medical Marijuana Education and Research
Well,
Initiative, the Florida Association of
I
Broadcasters.
don't know that he hits
and
the
its
ball
radio
straight
station.
enough for Hilton Head.
Where I'm from, marijuana is legal. Can
He
I
made
use
a
it in Florida?
triple on 12.
Nah, it's illegal.
Came back
here,
with a
man.
birdie on the next
But I
hole.
have PTSD. Should I at least try to get medical marijuana?
That's legal. But if I were you, I'd talk to my doctor about qualifying conditions and to find out if medical marijuana is even right for you.
Thanks. I'll talk to my doctor.
From the best headlines
The best.
to the worst,
It's the worst thing that ever happened to anybody ever.
prepare yourself and hide the women and children. This is Mark Miller's Good, Bad, and Ugly on Fox Sports Radio.
You're live.
David, this good does not work out very well for the two of us because a new study in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine reminds us that doing good for others is good for us too. Research on nearly 13,000 U.S. adults finds that adults who volunteer for at least 100 hours a year, or about 2 hours a week, have a substantially reduced risk of mortality, developing physical limitations, higher levels of physical activity, and an improved sense of well-being compared to those who don't volunteer.
What about giving to charity?
It has nothing to do with that. It's just...
No, I know. That's what I'm wondering.
Doesn't make it.
Is there any way I can extend my life because my wife gives all our money away?
No, because you can tell how it makes you feel.
Oh, it makes me feel great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. For the bad, we go to the gritty streets of Bonita Springs, where some jackass stole 5 animals from the Everglades Wonder Gardens on Tuesday night. He cut the locks to the animal enclosures and took off with them. He had a locally famed and rare albino red-tailed boa, the most popular ambassador animal at the gardens, and a couple others, snakes, and a couple of tortoises were also stolen. So if you know who this jerk is, please contact authorities. And finally, the ugly. We go to India, where in Ratlam, India, a self-proclaimed holy man who claimed to be able to miraculously cure people of the coronavirus by simply kissing their hands has died from the coronavirus.
Well, he kissed too many hands.
He told followers that his kiss cure was foolproof and he would cure them of all ailments. Unfortunately, his wonder cure did not work too well on himself. On June 3rd, he was diagnosed with COVID-19 and sadly succumbed to the disease the very next day. And that, David, is the good, the bad, and be careful who you kiss ugly on today, June the 18th, or you know it as March the
100th.
March 100th.
Or no, let's see. I think it's March 110th.
March 110.
March 110th.
Here on June the 18th in the year 2020. You know, we're getting close enough, David, to reenacting What's on Tap. Do you know we could actually do it today? We didn't tell Jiro, so I don't want to mess around. But do you know we actually could What's on Tap today?
No, we couldn't.
RBC?
Okay. What else? I mean, we don't have racing. I mean,
isn't there a Premier League game today? Oh, they're off till tomorrow.
Yeah, we had 2 yesterday.
Right. That's why I said we're getting close. That's all.
I didn't like the piped-in crowd noise, and I was chastised on Twitter for it. I just thought it sounded weird, and that's all. It just didn't seem right to me. They said, trust me, it's better than no noise. I said, well, I actually would have liked to have found out. So everybody knelt, by the way, before the 2 Premier League matches yesterday. And don't know if you saw the jerseys. They had numbers on the back, but in place of the players' names, it all said Black Lives Matter. And goodness knows they have had their race issues in soccer.
Oh, their crowds are vile compared to our crowds when it comes to how they've treated race in that country with Premier League. And not only that, but football all over Europe, how they've done it for years. And that's why the movement has gained popularity across the pond as well. They're playing at Hilton Head. Vaughn Taylor is 4 under through 8. He is your early leader. Jordan Spieth made an early triple bogey in his round, came back with a birdie. He is 2 over for the round, but currently in last place.
Our poll question at that Mark Miller and the David Moulton on Twitter or millerandmoulton.com. Are you for or against the universal DH in baseball? If these 2 sides negotiate a deal, we will never have a pitcher hit again unless he's put up as a pinch hitter, because we're going to have the universal DH for this year and next year, and then it'll get negotiated as part of the next CBA. So we're asking, are you for or against the universal DH? And right now, Mark, by more than 2-1, people are for it.
And I'm more impressed with the fact that done watching baseball is less than 16%.
Right. Right now, about 1 out of every 6, 1 out of every 7 people is just saying, no, I'm no longer a baseball fan. We thought that would be higher. So, but 57%, a majority, are for the universal DH.
Just think too many people have come around. The points that we've made over the past few years, David, that pitchers don't hit anywhere anymore. And loved all the comments of Dontrell Willis and all these other great hitters, because we recognize it. David and I love it, but we're not going backward. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense anymore. The Dan Patrick Show is next. Thanks so much for listening to Miller and Moulton right here on Fox Sports Radio. Thanks, everyone. Talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, you guys have a good day. See you tomorrow.
See you, Jiro. Good job.